Welcome back to Comtrack, where you'll never have to watch a movie alone again. I'm your host, Tim Leifheit, and I have another recurring guest, Nikki B.
How we doing? What's going on? Thank you so much for inviting me again.
Absolutely. Is this a crossover episode? Maybe.
Just might be.
All
But
right.
no, thank you so much for inviting me back.
Absolutely.
And thank you for inviting me to watch a good movie.
Oh,
this
I know,
time.
right? Yeah, last time you kind of lucked out with one of the really low-end Star Wars movies, but here we're going to be doing...
But this is going to be a very interesting one to get into.
Yeah, it's been a while since I watched this one.
Yeah, me too, yeah. I am just a huge... Do you want to go into a little bit before we...
Yeah, well...
Intro, but yeah, I was going to go right into it, but yeah.
Yeah, see, well, the thing is, for Inception, Inception was always like a weird movie for me, because I was the very first person to hear about it, and I swear to God, the very last person to see it. Because I actually remember...
Did you see it, like, right at the, like, right when the hype train kind of...
Way down.
Right
like,
when the
I
hype
saw
train
it, like,
kind
on
of
the very
ended on
last
it?
weekend before it even got pulled out of theaters, man.
Really?
Actually, I didn't even see it in theaters. I saw it on DVD for the first time.
Okay.
Like weeks after it was released.
Yeah. This was a movie for me. I am a huge fan of Chris Nolan's work as a filmmaker.
Oh, same.
I think he has just made... He's one of those filmmakers that just constantly, like, every time he puts a film out, he just... For my money, he just knocks it out of the park every time.
Most of the time,
Most
anyway.
of the time, anyway.
Interstellar sucked.
Yes, most of the time, anyway. And that just goes beyond his Batman trilogy. But, like,
Yes.
Memento, The Prestige, and a film that I think is probably his most underrated, which is Insomnia.
Yes, I love
with
Insomnia.
Al Pacino and Robin Williams.
Robert De Niro's fucking creepy.
You mean Robin Williams?
Yes,
Yeah.
Robin Williams is fucking terrifying.
Oh
in that
my
movie.
God, it was amazing. And it actually came out the same year that he did the film 1 Hour Photo.
Oh man, that was the Robin Williams.
That was
Creep
the
Fear.
That was the exact same year. If you can
Dude.
believe that.
But
I mean, I do highly recommend Insomnia if you haven't seen it. It's kind of one of his. It's one of his Chris Nolan's lesser known films. It's kind of underrated. Not too many people know about it.
Did you see Following?
Did I see what?
Following, his first film, his first feature film.
Yes, I did.
That's cool. I've actually seen all of them.
Oh
like,
yeah,
even his short film Doodlebug.
Oh yeah, right.
You can find that one on YouTube too.
But Inception, that was an interesting experience the first time I saw it, because I remember right as the movie ended, I thought to myself, this is going to be a movie I think I'd have to watch a few more times.
Oh, we all did.
Before I fully grasp the concept of it and just the overall experience of it. I mean, I certainly liked the experience of it when I sat and watched it the first time.
Yeah.
But it was definitely one of those movies where I'm just like, I think I'm gonna. Like I said, I have to watch this a few more times. I think I only saw it one time in a theater. You said you saw it like way after the hype train.
Oh yeah,
was out
dude,
for it.
it was crazy because the thing was, because I saw The Dark Knight, not opening night, but I saw it opening day. And as soon as I walked out of the theater, I'm like, "This is the greatest thing ever." Well, it was the same thing that
You're talking about
everyone
The
was
Dark
feeling.
Knight.
Yeah, about The Dark Knight.
Okay.
And as soon as I was like that, I'm like, "When the hell is he going to make the next one?"
2 years later, I think. Yeah.
No, as a matter of fact, I read up on an article that night, and he said, "Yeah, I'm not doing a Batman movie. I'm doing this sci-fi thriller called Inception," which I'm like, I don't know what he is, but you got my money. That's a blank check right there.
He's one of those filmmakers where I just will give my money to whatever he does.
Exactly. I mean,
Tarantino for me, Nolan, Scorsese,
Yep.
Anything he does, I'm just giving my money right
even
there.
if it's bad, it's probably going to be spectacularly
Oh,
bad.
even like the weakest of his films, which is probably Interstellar.
Yeah.
I won't say Interstellar is a terrible movie, because when I saw that, I was very much in, like, because I remember I saw that in IMAX 3D, and just the special effects.
3D? Really? It was not released in 3D.
Or not in 3D. I just
like
saw it.
IMAX?
IMAX, yeah. I didn't see it in 3D.
Here's the other thing,
Not in
because I
3D.
know this was a big campaign at the time. Did you see it in 70mm IMAX or just like digital IMAX?
I saw it in digital IMAX.
I actually saw it in 70mm.
I couldn't find a theater that was closest to me to do it.
There was I was living in Bowling Green at the time, and I actually went a few miles up north into Michigan, because at the Ford Museum they still had an IMAX theater, and they were
showing 70mm?
Yes, they were presenting that movie in 70mm IMAX projection, and I've never seen a picture clearer. ever.
Oh, it's
like the movie
amazing.
looks amazing. The
Yeah.
actual story fell really apart for me.
That's another episode for Comtrack.
Oh,
if
dude,
you wanna
totally.
get
We
into
got to do that because I've got a whole story on that. But,
I know the series you're doing isn't a Christopher Nolan series technically.
but I mean,
yeah.
I don't see why not though.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, man, we'll start a hashtag or something.
hashtag Interstellar on Comtrack.
Yes, but but and the thing about Inception was, as soon as I read about that, I'm like, I'm in, but I didn't see it at all during while it was in theaters. I don't know what was going on. I just know I was crazy busy at the time.
This was another one of those movies for me where it's like, I told them that I saw the movie and people would ask me, well, what's it about? What's the idea? And I go, I really don't want to tell you much about it before you go in. Like,
that's actually a good way to put it.
I don't want you to know too much about it. Like, don't even look at an IMDb synopsis. I don't want you to
don't
know
even look
anything.
at the trailer.
Don't look at a trailer. Don't look at anything. I don't want you to know anything. Just go in and watch it.
Also,
and it's very rare that we get that in film now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in trailers alone, modern trailers tend to spoil a lot of the movies.
A lot.
And from what I remember, when the trailers for this, I mean, I could be wrong, but I haven't seen the trailers in a while or looked up the trailers. But for what it didn't really show too much.
Yeah, it didn't show too much. Although the thing that it did do was the that's the one thing I really hate about this movie is it set that stupid trend in not just film trailers but also in movie soundtracks in general. Yeah, I just like in obligatory Inception bois is what we call them.
Because it was just copycat. They were just like, oh, that's cool. We can put
let's put that in the trailer. Like that got a
this
whole,
is an intense scene in the movie.
I got so many downloads on iTunes. Let's just rip off of that because we're really unoriginal and can't think of anything off the last minute. So, but I just don't know how Christopher Nolan's brain works just to come up with a concept. He's a mathematician at heart.
Oh,
that's what it is.
He's a mathematician.
He's constantly
a mathematician filmmaker.
He's constantly like doing like references to MC Escher and architects and really elaborate.
He's a smarter man than I will ever be.
Yeah, well, and this is the most blatant attempt to do that sort of thing. I mean, if you look at have you ever watched his like how he explains the plot for Memento?
Oh yeah,
like he just goes back and forth, and it's like he's literally like a professor, telling you the equation of everything, trying to explain the plot of this fucking movie. It's kind of hilarious, but it's also just really humbling to see, and of course this has like I think probably the Nolaniest of all of his movies. Like all of his tropes seem to be in here. They've got those.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I've got all the men in suits. They've got Death to the Wife and like grand scopes and film photography, and that's the other thing. This movie was shot on film.
Gloriously.
Yeah,
too.
and
he's
no
one of the
second
few
unit.
Directors. He's one of the few directors that are doing that.
Not just film, but no second unit either. Like he shot and directed every minute last shot. Very rare. No one ever does that anymore because, well, quite frankly, it's kind of hard.
I mean, rarely shoots on film in general.
Yeah, well, I mean, not to not break off second units, and so you're getting more work done in less time. That's almost unheard of nowadays. And he even did the same thing in The Dark Knight, and that look how great that worked out. So, I mean, I don't know how he does it, but he's here to do it. So, I think it's about time to start the movie.
Let's do it.
So, and for you newcomers, if you really don't want to hear us bullshit about the movie beforehand, in the description below, there's a sync button, so you can just skip past whenever you want to revisit us. So with that said,
we're using time codes.
Yes, it's all in the time codes. So with that, here we go. We are pressing play.
Let's do it.
And fade into the Warner Brothers logo.
Christopher Nolan always had great Warner Brothers logos.
Well, yeah, because they gave him all the toys. They gave him all the IMAX cameras, especially when he did Dark Knight Rises.
Warner Brothers for sure has a lot of faith in Christopher Nolan because I think he's pretty much. I think
he made them billions
maybe with the
at
exception,
the box office.
maybe with the exception of Memento, and I'm not entirely sure, but I think all of them have been through Warner Brothers, right?
I think so.
I don't know if Memento was. I could be wrong. But
I do know. What I do really love is his company right here, Cinecopy.
Oh, I love that.
They just totally ripped off that font and used it for this movie because of the maze structure that's mentioned throughout. But yeah, right away we are up on the shores of wherever. We're on the shores of the beach, and there's Leonardo DiCaprio washing up on shore. And you know what's really interesting? This is not the first time we've seen Leonardo lamenting over his dead wife, and there being a lot of water present in the movie. Shutter Island.
What other movies?
Shutter Island, which coincidentally came out the same year.
That was the same. Shutter Island was the same year. I shit you not.
It was the same year, 2010.
How did I know that Insomnia and 1 Hour Photo came out in the same year, but I didn't know that Shutter Island was the same year as Inception?
I guess between the two of us, we're one genius.
I guess. Well, I guess because I'm a diehard Robin Williams fan.
Yes.
Maybe that's probably why. But wow, that's interesting.
Yep.
Working with Scorsese and Nolan back to back.
Now this architecture is fucking cool.
Oh, I mean, I just seeing this on the big theater just like blew my mind. Just like the way this was a movie that demanded to be seen on the biggest screen possible.
Which I am so regretting right now. Although speaking of regrets, you know the song that's sung by Edith Piaf throughout the movie. Like it's called
is it like La Vie en Rose or something?
It's Non je ne regrette.
That song.
Non je ne regrette rien.
Which is interesting because Marion Cotillard's in this movie who played Edith Piaf.
La Vie en Rose,
yes.
right? Well, that song is "I Regret Nothing," which plays throughout. And another interesting coincidence, the opening titles that the Bois are just based off of slowed down cues from the opening of that movie. Or that song, and the whole movie is 2 hours and 28 minutes long. The song, 2 hours, 2 minutes and 28 seconds. So we are.
I never caught that until now.
We as the audience
I know
are dreaming.
something new. Like I learn something new from this movie every time I watch it.
Yeah.
Because like the first time, as I was saying before, like the first time I watched this, I was just like, I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but I like watching this. But that's very rare too, right?
Yeah.
It's very rare that's like you'll watch a movie and go, I don't know what I'm watching, but sometimes, that comes along with, I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yes.
This was very rare in the sense that I don't know what I'm watching, and it's a lot to take in.
Oh yeah, dude, this is one of those movies.
Great to yeah.
This is one of those movies you literally blink and you will miss something. Like we already missed like the that great match cut from old Saito to young Saito. And really fun thing is Saito, the character of Saito, was written exclusively for Ken Watanabe. Because
for sure.
Well, yeah, because Nolan was making Batman Begins, and he was supposed to be not Ra's al Ghul, and he's like, "Man, you're a really great actor, but I don't feel like I gave you enough screen time." So I'm like, I'll write this character just for you to appear in, so you get more screen time and get to show off your acting abilities. Because Ken Watanabe is a great actor.
He's underrated for sure.
Totally.
No one ever. I mean, like
in many ways, it might.
This is probably. I mean, it's kind of hard to say, but he might be one of the most unsung performances in this movie. If not the most unsung performance in this movie. I mean, it's so easy because you look at Leo, and because he's Leo, and you look at Ellen Page and their performances, but like he is probably the most unsung hero of this movie. I would say
he's kind of what is his name? Kurosawa's man. Mifune.
Mifune.
He's kind of the Mifune of our day, in many ways.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So now we're this is where things get really kind of crazy because we are jumping from all over the place, and that's what I really loved about this movie. The only exposition they gave was just about extractors and what they are. But they don't tell you where the hell you are. So again, this is one of those movies like you blink and you will be in a completely different place and time and space and level of dream, as we're about to find out. Because I remember popping this in. I had no idea what the hell was going on, but I'm like, tell me more.
That's exactly how I felt the first time I saw this. Like, I literally was just sitting there with my jaw open because I was just like, wait, okay, I really have to think and pay attention here.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's not like The Dark Knight where I can just sit and be like, it's a Batman movie and it's awesome.
Yep. Although again, going back to
that's one of the things I appreciate Nolan for.
Yes.
Because he won't make the same movie twice.
Yeah.
He's never gonna make the same movie twice.
Also,
even if it's one of his Batman movies. Each three of those movies are so respectively different.
Yes. And I'm really glad that he actually made the decision to take a break and make a completely different movie in between those movies.
Rather than go in between.
Exactly.
And we're introduced to Marion Cotillard.
Yes. Our femme fatale of the movie. This movie is very film noir.
Yes.
And it's
But
actually, the thing that I tie this in most, and this is kind of why I'm including this in my anime month. This movie feels like a live-action anime.
In a way, it
really
does,
take a few steps back, because like I've always been fascinated, and like ever throughout college, I've always been fascinated by making a movie or a short film that feels like it's a shot-for-shot remake of an anime that has never been made.
That isn't based on a previous
anime
source material.
But it just feels like it's a shot-for-shot remake.
So you're saying like it feels like it would feel like a shot-for-shot remake of something that doesn't exist.
Exactly, and that's what this movie feels like. You know,
it's like he created his own anime story
in a weird way, because like really,
I see a lot of anime there's definitely a lot of like sort of styles that definitely remind me of that for sure.
Well, the architecture is Japanese.
Architecture, yes.
So like, because I'm looking at the movie and I can see like this movie being.
This would have been a very interesting anime graphic novel if they ever were to make one.
Although to a certain extent, you could argue that this movie has already been an anime. If any of you viewers out there have ever seen the movie by Satoshi Kon, Paprika, this movie steals.
Which I have not seen.
This movie steals so freaking much from that. It's not even funny. Like it's to the point where
did Nolan ever mention that was a film that he referenced, or like?
I don't think he said he definitely
because there was a film that kind of go off topic for a little bit from this movie. The Darren Aronofsky's movie Black Swan.
Yes,
there was an anime film, and I can't remember the title of it.
Oh, Perfect Blue.
Perfect Blue. Yes,
yes, that's also by Satoshi Kon.
Yeah, and that movie I haven't seen Perfect Blue, but apparently a lot of people have gone on to like go in depth to say Black Swan is pretty much a shot-for-shot remake of Perfect Blue.
It's all very much inspired by.
Yes.
Whereas this movie is kind of the same thing.
Going back to this, I wonder if I'm not sure if Nolan has ever said that Paprika was a film.
No, he totally cites it as an inspiration.
Right. Yeah.
Totally, because there's one moment in Paprika where she closes a glass, like a mirror door. Mm-hmm. It shatters and she walks through another thing. He literally ripped off the exact same thing with Ellen Page and Leo DiCaprio later in the movie.
Right.
So
I have to see that. I haven't seen.
Yeah. But it's dude, anything by Satoshi Kon, Tokyo Godfathers, Paprika, Perfect Blue, all worth watching. But anyway, the thing about Inception is, Dom Cobb here, played by Leo, is just gotten into his Saito's government secrets, as one would say. Or at least as Neil Breen would say. But
that's one you have to do on Comtrack.
Oh, jeez, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. Maybe when
someday.
If I get enough requests, then sure. But
yes,
yeah,
we'll do that you'd have to do that with a group of people.
Oh God, with a lot of drinks.
Exactly. Yes.
So now Mal is kind of fucking shit up here because he's like she's literally pulling back the curtain for these guys, And then of course
that's another thing that I appreciated is that this movie has like he's one of the few directors that knows how to shoot an action sequence very well because not a lot of directors know how to do it.
No, he does nice wide long takes.
Yes, and this is
what's really crazy is the sets. Like he actually made because all this shit you're seeing, like none of it is CG.
All very practical.
This is
sets.
all impractical, and they literally just exaggerate, the effect by shaking the camera.
And then Nolan can give you like a film that has the most complex themes and messages, but still give you an entertaining film. Yeah.
But you're right, totally. Because as a matter of fact, this movie has even fewer visual effects than Batman Begins.
Oh, I believe it.
Like
I actually believe it.
I think Batman Begins had like 700 or 800.
I would have
probably
told you that was a crazy notion. Like after I saw this movie,
right?
Because like I would have told you like
I would have said
like,
bullshit.
No way, this movie has like the most CGI that Nolan's ever used. But after a few times I've seen it, I was like, oh yeah, I totally believe it.
I think this movie has like 500 visual effects, where Batman Begins has like 700 or 800.
Yeah, right.
It's nuts how much he does in camera,
Mm-hmm.
and it's to the point where you're like, Nolan, how do you keep getting away with it?
Because he's Nolan.
Yeah, that's very true. Because like he does, you have all these great stunt guys, and they have these elaborate sets, and then of course, like probably one of the most ridiculous effects. It's coming up in a moment. Saito's
I
waking
know
up.
which one you're talking. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I love how the whole dream is collapsing. Have you ever had that moment where you realize you were dreaming and you realize you're in the dream and you're waking up and everything just seems to be falling apart?
Oh,
I actually had that experience.
That's
so
very, yeah.
I don't know if it's a result of this movie or just because that's how humans dream. I don't know, but either way, this is cool. That's
Great shot.
all in camera.
Great shot.
All in camera with a super high-speed camera. And yeah, they just doused the entire set in Leo in water. I think it was like a few 100,000 gallons of water. It was nuts. And then
Not the first time that
No.
Leo has been
soaked in the
doused and
water
soaked in the water.
this year.
Yeah.
All right, so now they're out of the first. Well, I guess spoilers. If you guys
They
watch
do never. I mean, yeah, they don't really specify where exactly it is they are.
no, and it's not
but
until.
that's one of the things that's like. I think Nolan is probably one of the few directors that can get away with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually when you have a film set in a particular place, they'll be like,
Tell us.
yes, tell us where it is. But this movie doesn't do that.
Yeah, we
But
really just
you-
kind of have to go along as it is. But
Whereas with every other movie, you'd be like, okay, where are they? What's happening right now?
but I do really love the fact that it's actually kind of designed for multiple viewings.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
I mean, I could not. I mean, that's exactly how I felt when I saw this movie. I was like, I have to see this movie again. I know
Yep.
I keep bringing it up, but
no,
it's
dude,
like,
totally.
it's
Like, because this because when you watch it
one of those
again and
things, like
again,
you have to feel like you get more out of it, and like once you like see certain things, that's when you start piecing things together.
yeah, well, I mean that's because probably this movie moves so fast.
It's a very it's a very fast paced movie
there's-
for a movie that's 2.5 hours long.
Even the
Yeah.
dialogue, like if because I swear there's like he only uses like a couple seconds of dialogue to feed you huge amounts of information, and he does it almost constantly throughout. And there's Edith Piaf playing
Non je ne regrette bien.
Non je regrette rien.
There we go.
Yes.
There was much more. I only say like names. In
My
French
French is
That's why,
horrible.
I only say names in French. That's why I say, "Oh, this is where we're introduced to Marion Cotillard."
Yes.
Yeah. Gérard Depardieu.
Yep. And God, I forget where they're actually supposed to be, because I know within the dream they're supposed to recreate his apartment so that he believes that he's getting to talk. Of course, they kind of screw up because that's not the right carpet. And I really love what they say later on. He's like, why didn't you research the carpet? He's like, well, I didn't expect you to rub his face in it. Yep, that's
Lying on polyester.
perfect thing. Because actually, did you know the way the way they work? That's actually based off of the filmmaking process.
That makes a lot of sense.
Cobb
for
is the
sure.
director. Arthur, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is the producer.
JGL.
Saito is the studio. Ariadne is the production designer. She designs.
And that's another thing that you don't
dreams.
get. You obviously don't get on the first viewing.
No.
No.
You kidding me? It wasn't until I read about that and like Nolan was talking about his writing process.
Oh, I
about
didn't
that.
get half of this when I saw it the first time.
Dude, you can't even get a quarter of it, man.
No,
This
even-
movie
I
just
mean,
is so way ahead of itself that it's yeah. But Ariadne is the one who designs the dreams, so she's the production designer.
Production designer.
Eames
set
is the
designer.
guy who does the disguises and all the imitations. He's the actor, and then Cillian Murphy, who appears later, who they're trying to trick, he's the audience. So it's really kind of cool to see that. And I actually watched this movie a lot before I go out and direct a movie. Like that was one of my things. Is like the day before.
That's
I would go.
interesting.
Yeah, before I would go direct like when I was on the 48-hour films, and I would be in the director's chair.
See,
I'd
whenever
always
I
watch
would
one of
be in
these.
that position, like if we were about to go make a 48-hour film festival,
Yeah.
I would watch something about the making of movies. Like I would watch something like, and this is kind of, I would watch something like Ed Wood, by Tim Burton.
I gotcha.
You know, like
That's
or,
another good
you know
one.
what I mean? Like it's. I mean, obviously in that movie he's making a horrible movie, but still, just like
No, the passion is
just
there,
the passion is there. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of my favorite things was
Yeah.
we don't have a permit. Run.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Saito has felt like he's gotten a really nice interview, and so we're in Paris now.
And that's only really specified by the Eiffel,
Yes.
Eiffel Tower. It's
Eiffel
like,
Tower.
oh, yep, they're in Paris.
And of course, Leo's having second thoughts about doing The Revenant. Oh, they made me do a bear. They put me inside a bear to get
mauled
warm.
by a bear.
Whatever. I won an Oscar.
Slept inside the horse.
I wish I could have won that Oscar for when I blew coke out that hooker's ass, but whatever.
Or any other Scorsese movie.
Oh, dude, seriously, like his best.
Or any other Scorsese movie he did.
Actually, what's your favorite Leonardo DiCaprio performance?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a
That's
hard one.
interesting.
For me, it goes straight to The Departed. Like that's
The
my
Departed
favorite.
for me. The Departed is a great performance of his. I always liked Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, that's a great
Catch Me
one.
If You Can. That's one of Spielberg's best movies in
Yes.
my mind. Leo's performance in that especially is fantastic. The Aviator. I mean, you can't count.
Aviator's pretty good.
Aviator. He's fantastic. Wolf of Wall Street. You referenced earlier.
Well, I thought he should. I honestly should have won for Wolf of Wall Street just because of that one long shot of him opening the car door with his foot.
Oh
like
yeah.
that-
Oh yeah. That's
like
like,
the-
yeah.
I was watching that scene. I'm like, that's the move. That's should have won him his Oscar right there and then.
He's
But-
fantastic in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too, which I just
Oh,
watched.
right on. Cool.
Yes, he's very fantastic in that.
Yeah, boy. But yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio just can't get his wife out of his head. But yeah, just really. But I'm trying to think of the other thing that I was supposed to say, but nope, lost my mind. But anyway, so he's calling for just checking on his kids because I can imagine like Nolan was kind of using that because I know what was it? I know he had a kid during Batman Begins, so I can imagine he was using, being away from home for long periods of time and using that sort of thing, like, trying to keep in touch with his kids and whatnot.
Are very, very much felt in this, especially in this particular scene.
Well, I mean, this whole bit feels like, the traveling filmmakers or the traveling showmen.
Away from home.
Constantly in
for months
hotels.
and months on a time.
And constantly living out of hotels.
Especially if you're someone like Nolan who makes a movie like for like 8 months out of the year or something like that.
And always walking around in suits.
Yes.
Have you ever seen Nolan in anything except a suit?
Oh, no. He's always directing in a suit. Anytime he does an interview, he's in a suit. He's not one of those like, yeah.
I mean, can't we like at least one person get a picture of him, like, when he's getting his newspaper in like a robe and, boxer shorts or something?
Even when he's probably getting his newspaper, he's just like
still
wearing a polo shirt and like.
Oh my god!
Morning.
I mean, seriously, I really want to see.
He wakes up looking so dapper and nice.
Oh yeah, he doesn't even have to comb his hair.
No.
He rolls out of bed like that.
He just combs. I mean, he's probably one of those guys that just wakes up in the morning and combs his hair with his hand. It just naturally comes out perfectly.
Actually, I'm pretty sure he combs his hair with the helicopters that he constantly is using. Like it just blows in the right way.
Because it does seem to be his hair is very much kind of like, not really, not sort of messy or anything like that.
It's
but
coiffed.
It just kind of there we go.
Yes,
Perfect.
very coiffed. Very nice.
Yeah.
So, and Lord knows he must be spending a lot of time in helicopters because I swear every other movie there's like
that's how he probably gets the set.
Well, yeah, that's how he gets the set. That's pretty much. I'm pretty
sure everyone's just waiting for Nolan,
or
he might be the first one to show up on set.
Maybe who knows?
Yeah.
But although
I love how he never really goes in. They never really show footage from the process of the making of his movies.
No, they do. I've seen some of them.
Sometimes they will, but
I've got a ton of them on there. I'm one of those people who will buy the.
Sometimes they will, yeah.
I'll buy the 2-disc DVD or Blu-ray or whatever just so I can get the extra special features to watch how they made this stuff. Because I don't know if you've seen some of the insane amount of stuff that they've done on here.
Though I've seen him like behind the scenes when he's worked on the Batman films.
Yeah. Oh, you should see some of the crazy
right.
stuff that he's done for this movie because it's just as nuts, if not more so.
Oh yeah.
So now here's where Saito is finally giving them a final deal that can actually fix all of his problems like magic.
He said the title.
Yep. Well, and he already said the title
Yeah.
when he's like,
Oh,
when
that's,
they're
yep, you're right.
they're actually try to explain the idea of Inception and whatnot.
I love catching that in movies. I'm like, oh, he said the title.
The title drop. You know what actually would be what would be an amazing ballsy move to have as like the tagline on the poster, or even in the trailer. The tagline is "Don't think about elephants."
And then people would be like, they'd be like in the theater, like passing all the posters, and they'd see that and be like, yeah, I'd be full Tim Allen. But Inception, new film by Christopher Nolan.
Don't think about elephants. Don't think about elephants.
Okay.
But in here, it's yeah, and of course
that almost makes me wish they should have done that.
It would have been. It really would have been crazy.
It would have been confusing for modern audiences.
No kidding. No, they would have. You know, it's actually even crazier. In Japan, I actually read when they run this on cable, they actually have on the corner of the screen what level of dream they're in.
Oh,
which is
that's interesting.
Yeah, which
I've never watched this movie on cable. It's always been. Just pop in the Blu-ray.
I just checked that out on like the IMDb trivia because
okay.
As we know, all film nerds. As soon as
I almost never watch a movie when it's on like basic cable.
Right?
Like,
never.
Never. Because it's just like
so
I didn't know that they did that.
Fuck commercials.
Yeah. So I didn't know that they did that for this movie on cable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is another Nolan thing where you see two people talking to each other on a jet.
Good point. Yes.
There's a lot of stuff that comes back.
Opening of Dark Knight Rises.
Yes. Well, also Batman Begins.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Two people just kind of chit-chatting as they're moving along. And, of course,
it's not a Christopher Nolan movie without Michael Caine.
Sir Michael Caine.
I buried enough members of the Wayne family. You gotta love Michael Caine, right?
You do,
He's
dude.
the same. He's like Samuel L. Jackson for Tarantino, right?
Yeah,
he's just the guy to have in his movies.
Although, interestingly enough, he does not appear in Dunkirk.
Oh, he does not, no.
Yeah, I actually. Although what the thing was, I actually read that he was going to either appear as very briefly or provide the voice of Winston Churchill at the very end.
I could see that.
Yeah, but instead he
I could see that.
Completely opted out to do it, and he said, No, this movie's been shown from the view of the soldiers, so it has to the person reading it has to come from them.
I don't know if I'm the person to play Winston Churchill. That's a bad Michael Caine. But
No, the person to get to play Winston Churchill is definitely Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman, yes, absolutely. Another frequent Nolan collaborator.
It's all crazy enough. Even though there's a lot of members of the Dark Knight trilogy in this movie, Gary Oldman is not one of them.
And it's such a perfect role for him in this, Michael Caine.
Yeah. Although, you know what's really
I just buy it 100%.
You know what's really crazy, though? This guy got, he got top billing and paid, X amount of millions of dollars, literally for, 3 minutes of screen time.
Oh, yeah. It's...
You'd think he'd take a pay cut for being, Nolan's Lucky Charm.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Or like J.K. Simmons for Jason Reitman.
Oh, my God. You're right. Yeah. Wow. I didn't notice that. I need to watch more Jason Reitman movies.
Yeah. I don't watch a lot of I haven't seen a lot of Jason Reitman films, but the ones I've seen have J.K. Simmons in them.
How about that?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So he seems to be lucky charm for him, but yeah.
So now he's so now we got Michael Caine talking about getting Cobb home for one last job, and a common movie trope, one last job. But you know what's really interesting? He's talking about
this needs last shot.
This needs to be This needs to be he's talking about to get home is that he needs to focus more on reality, and that's just really egging the question: Page. Is this movie a dream or not? You're at a loss for words.
It still gets. It's still that's one of the things. It still gets you to think about.
You know what I think? Well, here's Ellen Page, and now here's really something really cool where she should run right there and then. It's not. I need a job for you, but it's not strictly speaking legal. Now, as an American student in Paris, you should fucking run right there and then.
Oh yeah, that's like a total just like, hey, how's it going?
Like if some stranger takes you to the top of a rooftop, he's like, "I've got a job for you that I need you to do."
I mean, that's just a trope, right? I mean, yeah, that's just like.
But I will admit the fact that she like manages to impress him like this, and actually what's really cool is the maze that she's drawing is actually kind of based off a maze of the Ariadnean Greek myth, because she's one of the architects of one of the mazes,
right.
which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now we got Ellen Page aboard. Although, does she get paid? Because you would think, like, okay, because if anyone like offered me a job, especially one that's not strictly speaking legal, I'm like, right on. How much do I get paid? Does she get paid? Do any of these people get paid?
I don't think that. You know what? I don't think that they do. Oh, this was.
See, the only
this was an icon. This was a.
Oh yes,
this was
scene
an
right here
scene.
in the the cafe.
This
scene.
was the scene that they. I remember this was the scene that they would show like whenever
all the time
they
in the
would
trailer,
promote the movie in the trailers,
in all the TV
just to kind
spots.
of show like, okay, this is probably the scene that we should show to get somewhat of an idea, even though that's like the most loosest.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Now, I really do love this whole thing where they're talking about.
Great scene.
Well, the mind is like more active while we're sleeping and whatnot. I don't know how true that is. I mean, I actually remember reading, listening onto the news, like there was like a whole resurgence of dream theory and dream theory and dream psychology and whatnot, and I hear it a lot. If I remember correctly, the whole thing where. When we're asleep, our brains are more active, and to a certain extent, I actually think that was scientifically accurate. I could be totally wrong, but from what I remember, from what I remember, most of the the stuff here is that it is like your mind is actually a lot more active while you're sleeping, and I really do love the line that he says where. How we don't really remember where we are. We're always just drop right in the middle of the dream. That's something that I always
had these crazy.
Now this
crazy visual.
Before I get into that, this bit, those were actually just air cannons. With debris that they just erased, and they did some visual touch-ups, but ultimately, like roughly about 80% of what you're seeing was done in camera. That's nuts. It doesn't feel right, does it? Obviously some of the stuff was added in, but a majority of that is just like really slowed down air cannons with very light and safe debris.
And obviously, you're not going to make a movie like this and not have a visual effects touched to some degree.
Well, you have to.
Yeah, you have to. It's almost. I mean, it would be practically impossible. But just the fact that most of the effect shots are in camera is very impressive.
Well, I mean, because that's like a really great visual effects discipline, is that you shoot as much as you can in camera,
and so you don't have to really put in too much touch up.
Well, yeah. Well, it also helps. Also helps to sell the visual effects for the artists who make them, because they have to program all the light and the movement.
And it also, I imagine, for the actors, like I feel.
Oh yeah, for the actors, it helps the performance.
It would be much more real performance, because when you do a CGI movie, the common sort of way you would do it is you would do it on green screen, and it'd be like, oh, you'd have a tennis ball on a stick, and be like, okay, that's an exploding building, and it just kind of be like, okay, you use your imagination in that way, but for the actors in here, it's like it gives their performances are much more grounded and much more realistic in that way.
Yes. Well, it helps with the visual effects, because they actually have photographic reference of what they're trying to recreate in the computer actually looks like, how it reacts to light, how it moves, and how it feels. So they can literally just take, use that reference and then just go like a little bit extra step further. And then, of course, speaking of extra steps further, then Nolan does this shit, which
this blew my mind at the time when I saw this.
Dude, like, I don't even know how to react to that sort of thing. Like, because to see that in...
I just remember looking around when this movie came out. I was like turning around to see like other people react to it. You know, you want to do that in the theater. Like you see something crazy, you just want to see other people reacting it.
Yeah.
Everybody's jaw was on the floor.
I can imagine, dude.
Like everybody was just... I was speechless. I was totally speechless.
Yeah. Dude, even look at the light.
It's...
That's spellbinding, dude.
Just the attention to detail.
And then, of course, they do this kind of thing here. Because I'm pretty sure what they're doing is they're literally taking footage, like some stock B footage.
And then just kind of...
copying, pasting, and...
flipping it up, yeah.
Flipping it
upside down, yeah.
And putting it in places. Now, this shot blows my mind. That was done in camera. Okay, do you know how they did that? They literally just rotated the... They just had the camera locked down and to the set for a green screen, and then they just rotated it as the actors walked in perfectly in unison. So they just rotated it, but when you see it projected back, because the camera is locked down on the actual
I just can't
set,
even imagine.
It looks convincing. Yeah. So, but what was I saying earlier? Here's where even more shit's changing around. What was I saying? I think it was about the dreams.
This might be my favorite Ellen Page performance.
No, Juno. Sorry.
I love Juno to death, but this is probably...
Juno is the movie.
She's fantastic in Juno, but this is probably my favorite performance that I've seen her in. That and probably the Umbrella Academy
Super
show on Netflix. Yeah.
Also Super.
Yes. Yeah.
Now this is the shot that Nolan totally stole from Paprika. Like when she shatters the glass, that's straight up in the movie.
See, now I gotta go back and I gotta see that movie now that...
Yeah, please do so.
Now I have to kind of like pick out all the different things from Inception from that movie. And wait, how long was it? Like, when did Paprika come out? Was it pretty...
2006, so about like 4 years prior.
Fairly not too long before Inception.
I'm pretty sure, because I know...
I think Inception was like 2010?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do know that it took like Nolan about 8 years to write the script.
It says it right there.
Yes. Right here. Boom.
You've got the IMDb page popped up.
But Nolan, I think he wrote the movie in about... I think it took him like about 8 years to write it.
Oh, I believe that like it took him a
very long
time to write a movie like this.
And it wasn't until like he made something big like, Batman and Dark Knight where he's like, okay, I feel like I'm in a good spot to do this sort of thing.
And it's also like because also think that because that movie was so successful, it probably gave them the green light to do something.
Absolutely.
Like this. Okay, you did our Batman movie.
Now you can do what the fuck you want.
Passion project.
You can do whatever the hell you want.
It also kind of mirrors to me. Going back to Batman, when Tim Burton did his Batman, they ended up giving the green light to do Edward Scissorhands. I think like right after that, because they were just like, okay, Batman's successful, go do whatever you want now.
Do whatever the hell you want.
Do your passion project. And that was another movie too that I think took a few years for him to write that as well. Yeah.
Oh shit! This part where she just straight up kills her. Damn woman. What was I? Shit, I keep losing my train of thought. I think it was about the conversation while they were in the cafe is how they always seem to just like drop in the middle of a dream. Like you never remember how you got there. You're just there and you accept it and you go along with the dream that you're going in. And it's not until you wake up you
look
realize...
at the concept of dreaming very differently after you see a movie like this.
Well, no, it's like when your dream is over, you realize there was like, wow, that was fucked up. But while I was experiencing the dream, it totally made sense, even though it doesn't now. That's kind of like watching a movie. Like you just drop into a story, you don't know really how you got there, but you're just kind of going along with it. And it wasn't until like you get out, you look up CinemaSins and see what's wrong with it. So, he kind of really says like, watching movies is a lot like dreaming.
In a way, yeah. I
mean, it's a kind of show for your mind. That's what goes on when you're dreaming. This is
the ultimate version of that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's really crazy how because this movie is so freaking meta.
Oh yeah, that's especially when you were talking earlier about the metaphor of it being a film crew.
Yes, and they are literally manufacturing dreams for people to experience. That's exactly what a filmmaker does.
Absolutely.
And that's what I really have been like wanting to do for a number of years. Is because you know how
Now we're introduced to
yes,
good old Tom
Hardy.
Hardy. This was
Future
I think
Bane.
this was probably the first movie I saw him in.
Really?
It might have been because I don't remember. Because he did Dark Knight Rises, which was after this, and then he
Yes.
did The Revenant, which was right after.
Yep.
And then this might have been that might be the first thing I ever saw Tom
No,
Hardy in.
actually, I can tell you probably the first movie you've seen him in, and it's also the first for mine because it's actually one of his very first movies.
He was in Star Trek
Nemesis.
No,
even before that, he was in Black Hawk Down.
Was he in Black Hawk
He was
Down?
so in Black Hawk Down. I guarantee you, that's actually one of his first movies.
Who was he in Black Hawk Down?
He was one of the you remember those two gunners that got left behind from like the convoy, and
One of them was Tom Hardy?
that one of them was Tom Hardy. I assure you.
Shit, I gotta go back and watch that.
I know, dude. It's awesome. I was actually rewatching. I'm like, holy shit, it's Tom Hardy, and I looked it up on IMDb.
I did not catch that.
That's totally one of his early roles, and
my God.
actually, I think his very first role was in Band of Brothers.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he was.
That's right.
He was Private Janovich, who tragically got hit by a.
Now I remember him in
by a
Band of
Jeep.
Brothers, but I gotta go back and watch Black Hawk Down now
Yeah.
because I did not catch him in that.
I'm pretty sure
Wow.
because he was in Band of Brothers.
Because of yeah.
He got cast for Black Hawk Down, which makes perfect sense.
Makes sense.
I mean, well, you know who else was like another big breakout role for Band of Brothers? Oh God, who's the young Professor Xavier? James
McAvoy.
James McAvoy. That was one of his first roles, and so was Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender.
It's interesting.
Damien Lewis.
Damian Lewis had a
Yeah.
couple roles before that, but he wasn't. But that was the one that made him big.
And then the guy from Friends.
Yes, David Schwimmer.
Yes, David Schwimmer.
But yeah, dude, totally. Like, there's a
Interestingly
lot
enough.
of breakout, like a lot of the minor characters in Band of Brothers.
Now I gotta go back and watch Black Hawk Down and look specifically for Tom Hardy.
Yes, he's a skinny little fuck in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Not where he bulked up major for Bane. Now here we got one of the really cool chase sequences throughout here.
Black Hawk Down.
Yeah. No, you will remember the fire.
You thought Inception was the first movie you ever saw me in.
No, wait.
Oh,
It's a Band of Brothers.
you think darkness is your ally? Well, you merely adopted the dark. And now Leo is being chased throughout Mombasa. I conquered Mombasa,
This whole thing there is Bane
including the
now.
coffee shop.
This whole thing is Bane now.
Yeah, that'd be an
That's
awful.
Tom Hardy's Bane,
that-
not Batman and Robin Bane.
Batman and Robin Bane is just. But yeah. Anyway, I really do love this chase scene,
This
especially
is a great chase scene.
especially the music. Even though now that music has been copied like 50 different times in other
Hans
action
Zimmer's
movies,
score in this is just
it's pretty cool.
one of the best scores, I mean, in recent years.
It's a little overrated, but yeah, it's pretty damn good.
I mean, I would just love, because Hans Zimmer's been doing a lot of concerts now in
Yes.
recent years.
Which I don't blame
can
him.
only imagine, and I can only imagine just the energy in that crowd when he starts playing Time from
yeah.
Inception.
Yeah.
I just would love to just be in the audience when he starts playing that. It's
Yes.
just-
Now this is one of the more
Yeah.
awkward shots of the movie where I wasn't
shout
quite.
out to Hans Zimmer,
Yes.
one of the greats of all time.
I wasn't quite sure how that worked. Like it was so narrow that he could barely fit through, even though you clearly can see if he just turns his body, he can get through. But whatever. That's probably the biggest nitpick of this movie that I have is that
Right.
one awkward shot. But to be fair, it's very hard to get a
I mean,
camera
really, the
lens in
nitpick.
there.
I mean, the nitpick for me in this movie is like they don't really. Again, it's a small nitpick. But we were talking about earlier about you don't really know where they are because they don't. Really establish
Actually,
that.
that's totally fine because
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a small nitpick, but I get why.
no.
Yeah.
They totally do. You just
Yeah.
it's really easy to miss.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
not even that's no problem with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, now Adriadne's coming back because she's like, yeah, even though Cobb's clearly fucking crazy, as an architect, this is too cool of a toy to deal with. Now there we have the infinite staircase, the Penrose steps made very famous by artist MC Escher. I'm a big fan of Escher too. Like I really love his surreal approaches to.
It looks the architecture of this looks very that looks very.
That's all done in camera.
Oh yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Dude, seriously, they actually had to get just the right lens, just the right angle, and just the right camera-operated crane movement in order to sell that look, which is nuts. The only CG that involved in there is the Penrose steps was held up by like some brackets and whatnot. They just erased the brackets in post. That's it. Otherwise, that's all in camera, which is crazy. Because I don't think anyone has ever attempted to do like impossible shapes inside of a live action movie. Because again, that's something so much easier to do in animation. Imagine, because
you can
you can totally see that. I can totally see this movie being
which is another reason of why I took a lot of inspirations from anime from this.
Yeah, I mean, even down to the camera movements and angles,
absolutely.
And even the choice in characters. Like, dude, like look at Ellen Page right here. She could totally be an anime.
Absolutely.
Right here.
Yeah. Well, she was in. It's not an anime game, but there was a video game that she was a part of.
Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond the Two Souls. Yeah, that wasn't an anime.
But it was definitely inspired by.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And even like where how he shoots his backgrounds like this.
Now that you say that, I could totally see Ellen Page in an anime.
Oh my god, yes. Someone get on that.
I could totally see that.
But yeah, even right here where
the Umbrella Academy a little bit takes some elements here and there.
Yeah. But even the way he composes the backgrounds, like the color scheme and everything, not to mention the use of like really deep focus that he and Walter Feister are very famous for. These backgrounds do feel like if they were painted in as like painted backgrounds, they could totally be anime backgrounds for this movie.
Oh yeah.
A lot of it feels so much like anime, which is why I'm putting this in with it because Chris Nolan with this movie did so much that I wanted to do with my future films. If I actually made it and got money to make passion projects like he does, I always wanted to make a movie that would be kind of a meta, well, not really a meta movie, but more like a movie that could only be done in the medium of film. Because you know how Alan Moore, he and Dave Gibbons wrote Watchmen, and they sought out to write a story that could only be done in comics and show off what comics can fully do.
Right.
I always wanted to make the movie that could do that for movies.
That could only be on film.
Yeah. Okay. And to a certain extent, while also being very... Because if I was going to do it, I would be so meta about it. Like, I had like an outline treatment about it where... You know, like beings come down. I don't really want to go to it because, A, it slows down the podcast, and B, I don't want anyone stealing it.
Don't give that away.
No, but
this is your idea. If you end up making it and
I
getting to make your passion project someday, just keep that to yourself before. Yeah,
I hope so. But anyway,
keep that to yourself. You don't want anyone taking that idea.
But in a way, he kind of did a lot of things that I wanted to do in radically different ways, but. He kind of did that. He also almost did it for Interstellar, because I was like, oh my god, he's doing he's doing like space-time continuum and all this stuff. Like, how are you gonna do?
I think Interstellar's problem for me was the story.
Oh, it totally was.
I mean, the visual effects standpoint from Interstellar was fucking phenomenal.
Well, like, because I always like deconstructed. Okay, what makes movies really unique as a medium, and it's editing. Because that's where you really put together in it.
That's arguably the most important job in film.
As soon as he was done with this movie and he was going to do Dark Knight Rises, I'm like, okay, whatever he does next, he's probably going to crack that code for finding the movie that could only be done in movies. Like, it's also it's about making it's about movies, it's about making movies, and it can only be done in movies. And I felt like he came close to this, but he didn't quite push it far enough. And when Interstellar came out, he's like, space-time continuum. Film editing is about warping space and time and rhythm. And I'm like,
again,
oh my god,
can exist in film.
I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna do it. he's gonna crack the code with this
Yeah.
movie, and I was like depressed when I saw it when I went to go see it, because I'm like, no, he's gonna do it, and then I was happy because it was awful. Because I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
it's still possible for me to
It's
crack
still
the code.
It's still possible to crack the code, just not with that.
Oh God, no! But
Not with that one.
he came
but
close.
He
came-
did.
and-
He came close.
And I'm glad that movie was a failure, because I've learned a lot of lessons from Interstellar that I want to put into my little treatment.
learn what not to do.
Yes.
As far as yeah.
So hopefully that'll be a thing one day, God willing. But now here the gang is checking up on their audience member, Robert Fisher, who actually I really love how they named him specifically Robert Fisher, named after the great chess player
Bobby Fischer.
Yes, because I know chess is kind of because as you know, Nolan is a big student of Kubrick, as most film students are.
Absolutely.
But he
I
is
cannot. I mean, if there was one filmmaker I would acute Christopher Nolan to, it would be Stanley Kubrick.
yes. And as you know, Stanley Kubrick was an amazing chess player and
I mean,
referenced
right
chess
before
a lot.
right before Interstellar, he always talked about how 2001: Space Odyssey was like the.
Oh, it still
like,
is.
Still is like the yeah.
That's
He
actually
said I think that was one of the things he said he was making his 2001.
yeah.
Yeah.
Too bad
Wasn't
it
quite that, but
no. He
But
he
still,
had
you know,
he
I love
assembled
the- yeah.
he assembled a beautiful gun to fire into the universe, and it kind of jammed on him.
Yeah,
Whereas Kubrick's fired perfectly.
No one can ever duplicate what Kubrick did.
No. Like
In
2000.
his lifetime,
I've always said that Lawrence of Arabia is probably the pinnacle of narrative cinema, but 2001 is the pinnacle of cinema. Period.
oh, absolutely.
That's the
Yeah,
movie
that movie. Yeah,
that
would be an interesting one to do.
I want to do
on
that one
track.
sometime. So,
Yeah.
but sometime in the future, I probably should have done that last month for the what was it, the 50th anniversary for the moon landing. That would have been a good one.
Wow, that would have been a perfect one to do.
Maybe I'll just wait for another 50 years.
Just put that on the notes.
Yep,
50
way
years,
down the line.
2001.
All right, so now these guys are trying to find out as much as they can about Cillian Murphy and his uncle and his dad. And I really love that he's actually not just visiting the man, but also trying to like pick up on his mannerisms and whatnot, which is exactly what an actor would go out and to do. Because right here, this is the filmmaking conference. Like you have all the exec producers, you have the writers, and you have the director in there, and they're just bashing out their concept for the movie and how they're going to make it work.
Right.
Like that's literally every dinner over as soon as the 48-hour film festival kicks in. That's what that process is. Is just bashing out. Okay, here's what we need to do. How are we going to do it? So now Ariadne, of course,
Very much mirrors that process.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And so Ariadne has just finished her little totem, which appropriately is a nice chess pawn, which is really cool. Another little visual reference to chess in this movie, because as you know, his movies are very logical.
Yes.
In that sort of thing.
No, not
Ver-
Nolan. No. Yeah.
They're very logical
Nolan.
and mathematical. Very
Yes.
left brain hemisphere,
Oh
if you
yeah.
will.
Yeah.
So, and of course, what I really love is the idea of having a totem top, because in the dreams it just spins and spins and spins, and he always has to keep spinning that thing to make sure that he's not dreaming, which is a lovely, lovely little idea.
It's a great little. Yeah.
So actually, that brings up the idea: if you were to make a totem, what would it be? Yeah, good
That's
question, right?
interesting. Good question. What would yours be?
I would manufacture like a coin that I would engrave myself.
I was gonna say for me it would probably be a coin of some sort.
Well, I mean, they did mention can it just be like a coin or something? Like, no, it has to be a little bit more unique. So it would have to be a coin.
I mean, I don't ever really thought about that. That's the first thing that I would go to. It would probably be a coin, but yeah.
See, well, I would actually press a coin myself and then engrave it with my own. And of course,
See,
just
that's
like
unique enough. Yeah.
And to make it a little bit more, just because I really love the top always spinning to, like, that's when you know you're dreaming.
Oh, sure.
You just spin the coin.
Just spin the coin.
And see that it's always dreaming. So that's me.
That's interesting.
yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
It could be like just about anything. Like, although I do really love the idea of having a little chess pawn, like that.
Oh, that could be a good.
Well, that's Ariadne's,
yeah.
remember? So, like, it could be just about anything. You know what? Carve. You know what you should do? Carve like something out of wood.
And make it yours. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you carve?
Man, I don't know. Just carve like a little. Man, that's a tough question. I don't know what I would
Make
do.
something cool. Make something like a.
I'd have to make
like
something
a little,
really cool that's very different from. And
how about a skull?
A
No, dude, seriously.
A skull, yeah.
Like carve a little
Just a
skull
little tiny skull
out of wood. Yeah, man. Go for that. Do it. We'll make our own little totems. It'll be great.
And just spin the skull. No, I'm not.
No, it just it just glows red every time. And the eyes glows Terminator red.
Oh yeah, that's what I would do. Make the Terminator. Just make the Terminator head that just glows red every time. That'd be my totem. There we go.
Oh, you definitely know if you're in a nightmare or not. Oh, and yeah. Okay, that was like some of our early visual references of designing all the worlds. Can you imagine actually being able to design that sort of thing?
It's very rare that it happens in cinema.
Well, no, I mean, just like to be able to design dreams. Although to a certain extent, if you train your mind to do that, you can. Have you ever had any weird dreaming experiences?
Absolutely.
Like, there's one that I've had several times where, right in the middle of the dream, I'll see something weird, and I'll be like, wait a minute.
Just see something. Oh yeah, and you just see something out of the corner of your eye that has nothing to do with the dream that you're in.
Yeah, and or just something that triggers your mind.
Yeah.
And you just
realize... it's usually like you wake up right after you see that.
Oh, here's something that I've actually
I've had that happen to me so many times.
No, but here's something that's really been interesting how I deal with it. I'll notice something's weird and I'll realize that I'm dreaming, but I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna keep dreaming because this is an interesting show. Let's keep going. Has that ever happened to you? Like,
did you just want to stay in a dream?
Yeah,
absolutely. Because you want to find out what that is. You want to find out.
I want to see
exactly
where things go.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like that, because your mind does some amazing things when you really focus in on it. Like I don't know while these guys are planning their moves and whatnot, and I actually do love this little moment, the kick. Just sizing them up. But what's probably one of the weirdest dream experiences you've ever had?
Probably one of the weirdest dream experiences I've ever had. I mean, it mostly you know what's weird? It mostly revolves around movies.
Oh, really?
It's a weird thing because like it usually is after something that I've seen.
You will love Paprika because there's a lot of that.
Because like I'll have a dream about like, say it's like you have a normal dream where you're sitting in a classroom or whatever, and it's in the middle of class, and then all of a sudden I'll see the two little girls from The Shining.
Nope.
Which is weird.
Nope.
It's so weird is that it'll usually be like right after I've seen that particular movie.
Mm-hmm.
So like something will pop up, like I'll see the two little girls from The Shining in whatever setting that I'm in.
Yep.
And it'll usually be right after I've seen The Shining, because that scene in The Shining is forever burned into my brain and everybody else's brains who've seen the film.
Yes.
And or something like, it's like a good dream or like a good thing that you want to see. Like all of a sudden, like I'll be someplace, and then all of a sudden the DeLorean will just come whizzing around the corner.
Cool. You ever get in?
Of course.
Yeah,
you gotta
bitch.
get in.
Yeah,
I want to stay in that dream forever.
Hell yeah. Weirdest one that I've ever had is one that actually made me question whether or not the Matrix
But that's
is real.
probably why, because like I have such a movie brain. It wouldn't surprise me that.
Yeah,
happens in
I kind of
dreams.
had one too, but
Yeah, but were you saying like you're involved in dreams of all the Matrix?
no, not quite. It convinced me that the Matrix actually might be real, like we're all living in it. Because I actually remember.
What was this dream?
I woke up.
I'm interested in hearing this.
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll just keep going because I know there's shit going on in the movie, but I figure since we're going into like the deep dark part of Cobb's mind,
it fits with the movie.
we're about to go to the deep
Yes.
dark part of Tim's mind. Cause
Yes.
Here, all right.
See,
so,
now you have to set that up.
Yes. I actually woke up in like this room that felt like it was made out of machinery, kind of like from the Matrix, but it didn't look. But it was a lot more jagged, kind of like the jagged art you would see in Samurai Jack or something like that.
Okay.
But a lot more sharp and jagged. And I was in this room with needles all over my body, and I was being hoisted up from my arms, and there was a giant tube down my throat. And there wasn't.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Now there wasn't like tubes. It was needles.
Ooh, I hate needles.
I woke up and I saw this, and and there was like an alarm going off, like this. I can't describe the sound. It wasn't sure if it was like mechanical or organic or biological or what. But the entire room was bathed in like a dark, almost like a dark room for photography, in that kind of a red.
Right.
And I literally, with a force that I can't tell you how I got, ripped from my the needles out of me, tearing and pulling bits of flesh along the way.
Ooh.
And in a panic, I
God.
pulled the
Like
tube
you pulled
out of
the tube out of your mouth?
and it went from it felt like it went from my chest all the way out of my mouth.
Oh my god.
And I actually managed to get off the little pedestal that I was on and fall forward, and I passed out from the pain. But the crazy part is the dream kept going. Usually that's the really weird part, is the dream kept going after I passed out from sheer pain. Usually that's when it wakes you up.
Right.
But it didn't. So all I heard was like these like thousands and thousands of tiny little spider things coming towards me.
Ugh.
And I saw like red dots through a tunnel, and then I looked and there was another a tunnel, and there was like a bright amber red light at the end. So I just made my way towards it, and I could see literally these spider things not just on the floor, but on the walls and the ceiling, all headed towards me. And when I got to the end, I saw the most horrifying thing I've ever seen in my life, and it was a city that looked like it was grown out of not just out of the ground, but through the ceiling and the horizon and the sky. It all felt like it was self-contained and yet never constantly expanding out of all the same jagged material. And I thought about just and what I saw was at the bottom were thousands and thousands, millions maybe, of humanity being ripped apart and tortured. The screams echoed forever.
Holy shit.
And I looked back and I thought about just jumping and ending myself, but I looked and saw there was a machine, like this crab-like machine that gazed up on me, because the spiders stopped and just kind of cornered me there, and it grabbed it, and it actually shot out a spike through my arm and wrapped itself around my collarbone and hoisted me through the city. And I saw images of tortured people projected almost like Times Square up on the sides of the buildings, while people were what looked like they were fighting, all naked, all bare-skinned, no hair, completely hairless, just being ripped apart to shreds.
Holy shit.
Men, women, children, everything.
Oh my god.
And I passed out again from the pain and the overbit of it. And then I remember being on a cold slab with a bright light on my face and these octopus-like eyes, red eyes gazing upon me. And there were a couple.
This is a great scene.
Yes. And then they were sticking needles in me, and I got flashes of more pain. And then I woke up in a cold sweat. Almost because I felt like I was being plugged back in.
I mean, if that
So-
doesn't convince me that the Matrix is probably maybe
that's
might
when
be
I was.
real.
That's when I was like,
Yeah.
okay, if the Matrix is real, I'm cool in here. I don't want to go back to that. I'm good. I'm really good. I'll be glad to stay in here and do podcasts for the rest of my life.
Yes.
You do what you do. So, yeah, that was a really dark turn for this
But this is
podcast.
right. But it fits, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Fits with the idea.
Yes, because
Yeah.
right here we're going.
I've
again,
never had anything that. I've never had
intense.
anything that intense.
Be glad you
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
Because
The only
yeah,
intense I've had is the girl, the two,
the Grady children,
the Grady children from The Shining.
which will mess anyone up.
Yeah,
But
that's
of course,
the-
to
but
be
this is a great. But yeah.
because we went.
Oh yeah, we're watching a movie.
We're watching a movie. We went. This is the dark part of Dom's Leonardo DiCaprio's mind, where he it kind of imprisons Mal, his wife, in here. It's kind of sick almost, like he's keeping her alive in her dreams, and yet at the same time that's keeping a prisoner of her in her own mind. If that makes sense.
Yeah, right.
I think that makes sense. I don't think words just fall out of my mouth.
No, I think it's again, and that's another one of those concepts that you get more like multiple viewings off of. For
Yes,
sure,
that's very true.
yeah.
But
I wouldn't have gotten that the first time.
Yeah.
No way.
it's still just him, holding on to the loss. I mean, especially if you could keep a loved one alive in your dreams, wouldn't you?
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Even though that's really unhealthy for your day job, because she's the one who comes in and is just constantly pulling back the curtain, so they can't do the job because you need to keep waking up. You need to kill yourself. Which, out of all the ideas to plant in your head, isn't that like the worst one possible?
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible.
And so now we're about to board the airplane that takes them on the flight, where they can do their job.
My favorite.
Your favorite what?
One of my favorite scenes in this movie, probably.
Oh, really?
You may be one of them. I mean, there's multiple favorite scenes. I mean.
So now everyone's getting on board, and of course they had, as you said, as they mentioned before, they had to buy out the entire first class because it's in the actual nose of the 747. Now, okay, yeah, there's a detail coming up that actually kind of blew my mind when I read about it. When you see the passport that they just swiped, if you look closely, the picture there, that is a young Christopher Nolan. I shit you not. I had to. I still have. I don't know whether or not that's true or not, but I read about that and I looked at it. I'm like,
Young
Is
Christopher
it?
Nolan kind of looks like
Cillian Murphy,
Cillian Murphy.
which is weird, really weird. Because now I'm putting those two people side by side, as looking at their face. I'm like, oh shit, they really are really really similar.
Makes you think if they're
Well, to be fair, I mean, to be fair, he is in like every
if it is a
other
past
movie.
life, yeah.
He's kind of
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He is. He's he's kind like Michael Caine. He's kind of a lucky charm with Chris Nolan.
Oh yeah, because he was in Batman Begins,
He was in
Dark Knight Rises.
and I believe was he in Interstellar? Oh, he was also in Dunkirk.
He was in Dunkirk.
Yes.
I don't think he was in the No, he wasn't in the Prestige. Was
No.
he?
No.
I almost thought he was, but he wasn't. Yeah, he's another one of Nolan's go-tos.
Mm-hmm. So now we're about to actually go into the main mind heist, if you will.
Yes.
Because now we got them all doused in, and now right here the stewardess. I believe that is Christopher Nolan's sister.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh wow.
She got a nice little cameo.
I know that Christopher Nolan produces a lot of movies with his wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But apparently.
But I didn't know that actress who played the stewardess was actually Chris Nolan's sister.
Yep.
Wow.
I believe they gave him that little bit part. So now we're about to go down in.
Let's do a Coppola thing where they cast the family.
Yes. And we're about to jump in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Big Inception bois. And right now it's jump right into Los Angeles traffic while it's raining. And I really love this line coming up where they go, you couldn't have peed before you went under? Sorry, it was free champagne.
Bit too much free champagne.
Which actually kind of makes sense. Have you ever? Now, I've never had that experience where I drank a little bit too much water and it was raining in my dream. That's never happened to me.
No, that's never happened to me.
Well, it is, but it is like a fun little common trope that
The
they
fact
do.
that like if you drink too much water, it rains in your dreams.
Yeah, I love this part.
That's never happened to me in a dream.
Did you notice that cab driver just disappeared as soon as he said walk away?
Yeah.
It's now see, it's obviously the actor just walked out of frame and whatnot. But within the world of the dream, did he just like disappear as soon as he pointed a gun at him?
I mean,
That's weird,
That's
isn't it? Wouldn't that be?
Yeah.
Because as you know, shit gets weird when you start dreaming. Although, you know what was really fun that I found out? They were shooting in Los Angeles during the summer for the sequence.
Okay.
But as you know, it almost never rains in Los Angeles, especially with this kind of downpour. So they just set up a bunch of rain machines. But the weird part was, half the time it was sunny days that they were shooting. So how do you do overcast photography while it's raining? But half the time they just kind of embraced the sun and said, you know what, screw it, it's a dream anyway.
Yeah, I mean...
Which, no, I think, I wish they actually went all the way with it, because, it would be like, no, that makes perfect sense. It's sunny outside, but it's pissing rain. It doesn't make sense visually, but you go with it because it's a dream.
That would be interesting.
Right?
Yeah,
that'd be really cool.
Just like have it be complete sunny skies, but it's raining.
I would totally...
no clouds whatsoever. Oh, yeah. Wow, that'd be very interesting.
And at times you can kind of see it, especially in the background, because I know at least for this...
You can kind of see the sunny spots.
Well, well, when you look way down the streets, you can, because...
Yeah.
I know in the area that they were shooting, they had these huge flags, held up by cranes, to, flag off the sunlight and whatnot. But obviously they can't do that for the entire street. But so, like you see when you look down the street, you can kind of see the sun going out. But again, it actually adds to the dream-like atmosphere of this gunfight. Speaking of which, I can't believe they actually got the permits to do like a straight-up gunfight in the middle of the Los Angeles street. Even for Hollywood, that's kind of ridiculous. Especially with the amount of stunts that they were doing. Because that's the other thing. They're doing these stunt cars in the rain. Shit gets slick.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in Los Angeles. Because there's a lot of pollution out there. And when it gets wet, it gets really slippery.
Oh, yeah.
So kudos to the stunt drivers out there. Because, man, that's nuts. And of course, we also saw that Saito's been hit. So, introduced error, as we makers tend to coin it, because now we just realized that we can't die in this, otherwise we're going to go into limbo, and if we go into limbo, we're going to be in there for like 50, 100 years. Although, I don't know. Actually, that's the other thing about this movie. When Saito does eventually go to limbo, he ages like 70 years or whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
How does he remember the number of the phone call from that point? Or is it because is it because I don't know, it's weird, like because how when you not really, it's just because like when you wake up from a dream, you almost immediately forget it, right?
Yeah.
So I guess in a way, like, even though he lived an entire life down there, it kind of like was expunged from his memory and mind almost instantaneously. So I guess, I mean, you would think he would at least write it down for himself just in case.
Sure.
But because like for me, if you like just wrote it down, because he gives him a look, and then he dials the number.
Yeah.
The number.
Yeah.
But for me, I wish he would have been like, he pulled like a number out of his, like a card out of his jacket or whatnot. That would have made sense. But again, like really, really small nitpicks here.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, generally when you review a movie, you have to be objective, and you like have
Totally.
to find.
And again, it's
Yeah.
the movie
That's
is
the thing.
the movie is a dream.
Yeah, exactly. So you can so that's one of the things. Like you have a more if the whole movie is a dream, then you have to kind of give a little bit more of a pass on some of the great nitpicks here and there.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just like, oh, you know, it's a dream. Who cares? You know.
So here's another really big question. When you know they're not
No
dreaming,
movie's perfect.
well, even when they're not dreaming, and especially at the very end of the movie, like, is he still dreaming? In your opinion, like
At the end of the
is the entire movie like is the entire movie a dream? Like, is nothing real? Because that's what
the end of the movie kind of leads me to believe that, like, that he's still in a dream.
You know what I like to think.
I actually like to think that by the end of this movie that he's still in the dream.
We'll have to discuss our thoughts, because that's a big debate of the movie.
I think that I actually think after like so many viewings, I'm like, I think he's still dreaming.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all?
Is but life a dream? So now these guys are ready to shake him up, find out what he knows. God, I really. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's really interesting that Cillian Murphy's just kind of going along with this kidnapping kind of dream. I actually wonder if they played that up with like, you know, certain insecurities, because you know how rich people, you know, real rich people are.
Oh yeah.
Always like looking over their shoulder for anyone begging for money or whatnot. Oh, and then this part, which I thought was really cool, where they have Eames. Yes, Eames, played by Tom Hardy. Yes. We can't words right now.
In his nice suit, which is how you know it's a Nolan movie.
Always. Although this effect is really cool with the mirrors. In this shot, you see, you look closely, you see Tom Berenger in there. And then again, and then when it cuts back to, it's one more mirror with him in it, and then it's him as is, but in the reflection in that last shot, it was Tom Hardy again. No one really knows how to fuck with you like that. I love it. But
it's like one of those like pictures you see, like once you see it, you'll shit bricks or whatever.
Yes, yes. Although
like those things on the internet.
Well, yeah, but it's crazy because like, even if that was a visual effect,
that should be the tagline of the poster.
When you see it, you'll shit bricks. But no, it's even if that was a visual effect with the mirrors. That's still really hard to pull off, because Tom Berenger has to do the exact movements that Tom Hardy's making, and vice versa.
Yeah, because in a way you have to kind of like the way one person turns, the other person has to turn the other way in order for it kind of appear.
That's such a headache, and I think only Nolan.
You know what I mean? Like
only Nolan has like the brain power to render that kind of equation.
In order for them to appear to be doing the same thing.
Yep, it's mind bending. I think the only crazier thing that was even harder to maintain was when they were shooting Titanic, and during the Southampton bits, they have the side of the ship there, but it's the wrong side, so they actually inverted all the text, and they just inverted the footage entirely, so that way it was on the right side. But on set, you had to constantly mirror image yourself when necessary, and it's just like, ow, my head. Like the poor continuity girl is just sitting there just like crying. Oh, fuck. Oh, that's the other thing about the like a movie like this, or say Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That's one of my all-time favorites.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is fantastic.
That's another movie that you can compare this movie to.
In a way, you can, yeah. I've heard some people kind of compare.
Well, see, this movie is about dreams. Eternal Sunshine is about memory,
and sort of wanting you to like forget memory and like like erase memories that are painful from your past and all that. Yeah.
Yep. And they both are very low on the visual effects, and more just about really clever surreal editing and placing.
Oh yeah.
Which I just cry for the poor script supervisor on set and
Because
the continuity.
Because I can imagine a script supervisor on either a movie like this or a movie like Eternal Sunshine. They just got to be like,
They're just like in the corner crying.
just sitting like in their desk, like in like on their trailers on set, just like sitting under their desk, just being like, oh,
just in a fetal position. Or either that, or they're just like slumped in a chair,
I
with
can't even imagine.
human ears as a necklace, with a cigarette just dangling from their lips. Like, they've been in the nom. Those poor continuity people, they've been in the shit for that.
Especially in a movie like this.
Right?
Yeah,
oh,
like,
it hurts.
That should be a special honorary Oscar given for that.
Oh, dude. Seriously. Like, just script supervisor. Well,
absolutely.
Script supervisor and continuity, man. Because, like, for movies like this, it can kill you if it gets wrong. And you know what's another detail that I didn't... You know what's another detail that I didn't notice that totally holds up? And again would have been a total continuity nightmare, is Cobb's ring, his wedding ring.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He wears his wedding ring in the dreams, but in the real world he does not.
Oh.
Yeah. You look closely on his left hand in the quote unquote real world.
He doesn't wear his
wedding ring is not on his left hand, but in the dream it totally is. Now you're gonna keep your eyes open for that for the rest of the movie.
Yes, I am. Believe me, yeah. Every time it shows Leo's left hand.
Yes, that's usually where it is. Yeah, that's traditionally how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
But now we're just like, dude, seriously, you can't talk. You gotta get Mal out of here. And he's like, I seriously can't. It's part of my subconscious. I can't let her go. That's the other thing about this movie is it's kind of dealing with using dreams as a way of dealing with grief. Also, that's also another really good way for how we look at movies.
That's a lot of
Like we'll often that's what we do is we go to a movie theater and just escape life for 2 hours.
It's the most. Yeah.
Man, this movie's
the most
fucking
ultimate
meta.
Escape, yeah.
In your face, Deadpool. That's the other thing is.
But that's a lot of Leonardo DiCaprio's character, right?
Yes.
The fact that he's getting over this grief of his wife,
Mm-hmm. And as you can see, there's a wedding ring in there.
He's got the wedding ring on.
Mm-hmm.
Now I gotta look. See, I gotta look super close.
Of course. Although there was another little detail that I kind of read up on that I thought was really cool. And you literally have to freeze frame it in order to see it. But the license plate that you see in the first level of the dreams, like in the rain, the license plate is for alternate state. It's not for any specific state. Like they didn't use California license plates. Instead, they're like old plates that they made themselves, and it's for an alternate state, which is really fucking meta, dude. Oh, that's another movie that I really need to check out. I haven't actually seen it, and I really wish I have for this movie. Alternate States.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of Alternate States.
I've heard it. It's like a really great drug movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of
oh, damn, I really wish I saw that one, because I know...
especially after this, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch that and do an episode as like I'm sorry for any Altered State fans out there.
How could you not?
You're a filmmaker. You should know everything. You should have seen every movie ever made. But although I'm pretty sure Nolan's seen like so much, because actually, do you know that's a tradition for him in the cast? Every time he goes to see a movie or make a movie, the first day or the first 2 or 3 days of any movie that he makes, they don't shoot anything. He actually screens like a series of movies that inspired him, and he screens them for the cast and crew.
Oh yeah.
So they get into the mindset like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So like,
I've heard that about.
Yeah, he's done that. He's done that on virtually every movie, and I would not be surprised whatsoever if Paprika was one of them. And a couple film noir films, because this feels like an anime film noir feature film, because I'm always. Because again, it's between the architecture, the camera movements, the backgrounds, the production design, and the ideas that they're doing.
Yeah.
It feels very Japanese. There's that cracking of the glass, and I really do love the sound design where it's the ringing glass, like you would hear like those performers that do circle glass and they do make music out of it. It's kind of like that. Good stuff. And then of course things get kind of dark because she's obviously still quote unquote dreaming and needs to wake up, even though that requires her to kill herself. And yeah, man, she really that idea really messed her up because she, if I remember correctly, when Dom was giving backstory about this, she actually visited a lawyer and said she actually was accusing him of her threatening her. So when she commits suicide, she could totally peg it on him. And that just entices him to join her in killing each other.
Right.
Which I'll be like, damn, woman, you went really to all ends to do it.
Yeah.
Of course, then again, for a true inspiration, it's kind of hard to really make someone stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Which, again, is one of the really beautiful things about the beautifully awful things about the human mind. And I think if you had to describe this movie in one word, it would probably be cerebral.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd
Yes.
say. Yeah.
But yeah, they're. But yeah, man, he's kind of a bitch here. I'm sorry. Like when you.
It's like right before she's about to.
No, seriously. No, seriously. Like she is basically blackmailing him. He's like, kill yourself so we can wake up because you're not dreaming. You're clearly still dreaming. So you need to wake up and do it, or otherwise I'll pin the murder on you. And she's gone. Bye.
I just want to point out that Leo probably does screaming and crying like no other in a movie.
He makes it convincing, but not to the point where
He's the best scream. Leo is probably the best scream crier that we have.
He's good. He's good, and he doesn't reach that point where you're just like, and I quote, "I'm acting."
Yeah, you believe it.
Yep, it feels natural.
100%,
Feels candid is the best compliment you can give it. Yeah, if we want to, it's actually kind of weird that Chris Nolan makes a lot of his movies with his wife, because you notice that a lot of pretty much all of his movies, like close loved ones, are always killed or murdered viciously.
I wonder. He must like. Do
you
like
hate your wife or something?
Like he must with every movie. He must like sort of like work. He must like have to like to sort of work these issues out before he makes a movie.
He has a lot.
Or like maybe he just the way he works them out is just put them in his scripts. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe because I'm like, you have to wonder, like, because we have.
Instead of going,
because we have the parents killed in Batman Begins, we have the wife dying in Memento, in The Prestige,
yes, of course,
and in Insomnia, this movie, and I believe also in Interstellar too.
Yes,
dude, seriously, wow. Chris Nolan, are you sure you and your wife are okay? Like, dude. Oh yeah, there's another.
Maybe the scripts is his form of therapy. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe I don't know, but whatever. Either way, works for me. Oh, this is another really great.
Maybe that's just the way that. Yeah.
This is another really great Nolan trope. Cillian Murphy. He tends to spend a lot of screen time in Nolan's movies with a bag over his head.
Oh my god. Yes. Oh my. Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. Was I the only one that noticed that?
No.
I thought I was the only one. I was like, why does Cillian Murphy, like in every Nolan movie, he's got a bag on his head?
Always.
Every single one. Well, yeah, always.
No, pretty much, yeah. I think did he have a bag? Wait, did he have a bag over his head in Dunkirk? I don't know if he did.
I have to go back and watch Dunkirk. I have to go back and watch Dunkirk to kind of see, but it would not surprise me.
Nope. No, it would not. Like,
Oh my
that's
god, I
great.
thought I was the only one that caught that.
Nope. I'm like, wow, do you just really hate his face?
Oh my god.
Although, you know what's another really
Cillian Murphy does. I mean,
You know what's another
Cillian Murphy, fantastic actor. He does have
Although
a bit of a creep face.
Well, to be fair, he's
Remember
not
the movie Red Eye that he was in?
I do love this moment here.
Yeah.
Mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling. Voom. Pooh! I love the face that Joseph Gordon-Levitt gives right here. Just wait, just all right. But no. The other thing was there's another actor in this movie who spends a lot of their screen time with their face covered. Tom Hardy. Really think about it. Like most of the time in Dunkirk, his face is covered.
Dark Knight Rises,
face covered.
As Bane.
Mad Max even. His face is covered a lot.
Yeah.
And even in what was it? Oh God, what was it?
Venom. If
Venom.
you want to think about it.
Venom with the visual effects.
Yeah.
Like
Venom!
shit. Man, I loathe the day that I'm gonna have to do that episode. I loathe the day that I'm gonna have to do that episode because it's coming.
That's a whole other episode.
Well, I am. Eventually, I'm gonna try to open up like the.
You ain't gonna know what hit 'em.
The world of Marvel movies, not just Disney,
Absolutely.
but all the others.
Just excluding the Disney ones.
Well, I mean, I want to do the Disney ones too because Endgame is just fucking intoxicating.
I don't know. Would you want to do the Ang Lee Incredible Hulk?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I'm actually kind of like that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
it's weirdly entertaining for me. It's got a lot of weird things going on, but
That's interesting.
yeah, it's an experimental superhero movie. Fails on some levels, but has some interesting concepts for others.
Blade Trinity.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. No. Nope.
Anyway.
I'm not a fan of David S. Goyer.
Anyway.
Yes. Anyway, the thing about Inception is, so that's supposed to be Eames, right?
Yes.
That's a little weird. How does that work? How does he project himself like that? Does he practice with drag queen or something?
I don't.
I don't know.
I don't know. That might be a whole backstory for his character.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Do you think we should? Actually, it'd be so. A lot of people, as soon as there's a big movie that makes a gigantic hit or whatever, they try to do spin-offs, sequels,
Yes,
and whatnot.
of course.
Would you want to see any more
A spin-off of Cillian Murphy's character?
or just like this world?
Oh, I would totally love to see more movies in this world, not necessarily like a sequel to Inception, but like
because as soon as
just like
making a sequel,
maybe spend more time with like one of the characters.
I really love this spot.
Just like their backstory.
Ooh.
Maybe, yeah. I really wanted to see a movie on Ken Watanabe's character. Yeah.
I don't want to see any of these characters again. This should exist only in one thing, because.
Or no, you're saying like a movie in this world.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Within this world, I'll check that out. I don't think it's ever going to be as good as this.
No.
Because it was fresh and interesting, and you're like on the edge of your seat.
And he's not going to do it again because he's did it once, and that's what Nolan does. He only does things once. Even the Batman films are, as I was saying before, completely different from the last.
Yep. But to make a sequel,
the same tropes of the Bruce Wayne story, but
to make a sequel to this movie would be like it would be a sin to make a sequel to this movie. Even a prequel would be a sin.
Yeah.
Although for a number of years I did say, although maybe one day, 30 years from now, someone will surprise us with a sequel. Because I actually remember for years that Blade Runner was the last movie that needs a sequel. And yet, we got
a freaking masterpiece with Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, yeah.
That movie is a modern masterpiece.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Yep.
And it's also interesting is that what's interesting about Blade Runner for me is that when I saw Blade Runner 2049, I loved it from the but that's only because like I knew previous knowledge about Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
Blade Runner was one of those movies for me, very much like Inception.
Yeah.
Where I felt like I had to see it a few times before I truly loved it.
Yep. And you can
I even just appreciate it too.
Well, also, Blade Runner is a big influence on this movie.
I totally But
Yeah.
I totally see that.
Look right there,
Yeah.
Tears in the Rain.
Yep.
Actually, I do love the practicality of this
by
bit
the
of the
way,
set.
Blade Runner, rest in peace, Rutger Hauer.
Yes. Oh, what a. You know, you can actually kind of joke that if he hadn't lived just a few more months, you could have said that he was so dedicated to the role of Roy Batty that he went out of his way to make sure that he dies in November 2019.
That's so crazy.
That'd be like the most dedicated actor of all time. Like, I'm still in character. I can't die until November 2019. But
rest in peace, Rutger Hauer.
yes. So anyway, now here's one of the cool practical effects of the movie, where the shifting of the weight of the van influences this.
That shot right there of
Yes.
just seeing the water glass.
Well, it's not just
seeing the
that;
water-
it's the entire
Well,
set.
even that, just seeing it, yeah.
It's the entire set.
Oh,
see?
yeah. Yeah.
And now, if I remember correctly, this was actually shot on a leaning set, and these extras here, they actually had like a long list of people, and you got rejected if you weren't able to stomach the movements of the set.
Oh yeah, I probably wouldn't have handled being an extra on this.
Probably because you actually have
There's
to hold.
no way.
Because even as the floor of the set leans, like say to like a 35-degree angle or something like that, you have to maintain composure, like it's not, like it's like you're not being moved at all. Like you cannot move it because you have to perceive that.
I can only imagine.
You're not moving. Only the gravity of the set is moving and not you, which is insanely hard to maintain. So even the extras have to go the extra step to do this sort of thing. And right now here, as we can see, we're doing like a major coup d'etat, like actually showing you the strangeness of a dream, which I guess that, you know what, maybe this is the reason why whenever I'm dreaming and I realize there's something wrong, I just kind of go with it because I'm like, no, where's this story going? I want to hang out because, you know, often, like a lot of what we describe as dreaming is just movies inside our head.
Yeah.
That our mind just kind of whips into being out of nowhere and completely random, and we just kind of go with it. Of course, a lot of people do. Are you one of those people who have or like read into dream interpretation and dream symbolism and whatnot?
Really only into my dreams.
Oddly
enough,
I've done a little bit of that in college, and honestly, like when I really look at the stuff that it's trying to connect, I'm like, this is all horse shit. You know,
I mean,
because if you've ever done like professional studies of like dream interpretation and dream symbolism, it's really reaching, at least for me personally. If there's anyone out there who's listening who is in that field, sorry but not sorry.
I mean, hey, I mean, just yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting to kind of think about. Yeah, but you're right. Like anybody who really does seem to reach as far as
Well, you know what it is? It's the equivalent of like CinemaSins on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Or like those, or Wisecrack, the ones that just like analyze every sign, every possible outcome.
CinemaSins nitpicks the shit out of everything.
I hate CinemaSins, honestly. I
don't hate them, but it's just funny.
I can't stand them because every movie has flaws. And
every movie has flaws.
And
no
honestly,
movie's perfect.
And
except Alien.
And half the time, no, even I guarantee you, CinemaSins will pick apart that and show it off.
That's just me. I just love to.
I like honest trailers better.
I love honest trailers.
Because honest trailers is like, yeah, there's flaws, but do we care? Sometimes, but most of the time, if you earn,
and you can tell there's a genuine love for the movie.
Oh yeah, dude, totally.
Trailers for
like, but for CinemaSins, it's almost kind of disdaining, you know. But I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, but then there's also the counteract of that. They have Cinema Wins.
Oh, they did. That's
they
right.
Have
I heard
Cinema
about
Wins.
that.
Everything great about Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, it's still too black and white for me.
Yeah.
Honest trailers is like the nice gray.
Yeah, but there's like the positive aspect. The negative of CinemaSins, positive Cinema Wins.
Yeah, whatever. Still prefer to have it all in one go, like one gray swoop.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. Although this is what I thought was really cool: the timing, the synchronizing detonations with music. Now that's actually another really cool editorial trick.
Yeah.
Is you tend to synchronize the action with music. Some kind of a little less obviously so. Like movies are scored and whatnot, and they don't time things to that. But other movies like say Edgar Wright's Baby Driver, they'll literally try to sync it down to like the tiniest notes and beats. So
I love that movie.
yeah,
so
that's going to be one for the
much.
future for sure. Using music is a wonderful little idea, and
that's one of my favorite things to notice in film is just the way music interplays with the scene.
Like
whether it's just its score or just a particular song,
like Needle Drop. Yeah,
Needle Drop, or just the way that Edgar Wright uses music in his films.
Exactly,
Yeah.
or even Scorsese.
Tarantino, anybody.
Scorsese, in my opinion, is probably the king of the needle drop.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
he's the one where not only does the music, the rhythm of the music fit the scene, but the lyrics seem to actually comment on what's going on.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he uses "Gimme Shelter" by the Stones in practically every, but it fits in every single time, right?
It does.
Yeah.
But he also uses like just songs to also elicit that sense of nostalgia immediately. Like
He
for
uses
people,
a lot of Rolling Stones.
not even just Rolling Stones. Like he'll use everything from like the Ronettes.
Oh yeah,
He'll even use like even crazy stuff from today. Like you remember Kanye West.
Kanye West was in
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
And of course Dropkick Murphys for Departed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, I can't hear that song and not think of The Departed now.
Think of Rags to Riches, the Rags to Riches song.
Damn
Goodfellas.
right.
Yeah.
So, Scorsese is kind of the king of needle drop in my point. But the point I'm making
He's
here,
the ultimate king of
yes.
everything. But
But my point I'm making here is like using music to time things
Yes.
and synchronize. That's actually something I do in real life. Weirdly enough, like I'll actually, if I'm like cooking something and it needs to cook for like like 10 minutes or something, I'll like put on The End by The Doors and time things.
Ooh.
Or one of my actually favorite things that I've done
this
is
the end.
in the chemical process for photography, because I actually I do photography and whatnot.
Yeah.
And in college, I actually used to develop my own stuff on 16 and 35 millimeter black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one step where you had to swish the chemicals around for exactly 7 minutes. And the way I swished it was in a very rhythmic movement, and it was the exact same rhythm of When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin.
Oh wow.
And it was full, and I had to, and the instructions that I was told, the instructions that I was told to do it was for exactly 7 minutes. Runtime of When the Levee Breaks, 7 minutes and 5 seconds.
Oh wow. So you actually like time out like however many like minutes. Yeah, you said.
I time
7
things
minutes,
with
10 seconds.
I time a lot of shit with
And,
music.
and the End by the Doors, that's like 10 minutes long, right?
Yep.
10, 11 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
11 minutes and 24 seconds if I'm correct.
Everything that stands the end.
But that's actually another really great way for if there's anyone out there aspiring to be an editor, timing your daily life with music is a great way to hone your editorial sense.
Oh yeah, that's an easy. It's maybe like sort of like the first go-to thing the editors.
Well, that's just something to do in daily life, like
Oh,
while you're doing like take a shower or brush your teeth or do the laundry. Do that to
Time everything out to music.
Exactly, and if you do that, you start to pick up on rhythms of what real life is.
Mm-hmm.
And when you pick up on rhythms of what real life is, that
this
will
was
make you so much
yeah.
better an editor. All right, now we're
It's
into
an
the
interesting
third.
scene.
Yes, we're in the third level of the dream. Finally, in the big snow fort. And now this whole sequence is just Christopher Nolan screaming to the skies and to all the studios out there, saying, "Give me a James Bond movie."
Give me a big action set piece.
No, he's because Chris Nolan is a huge James Bond fan.
Oh yeah.
Like he grew up watching all of them. He's like a Bond expert and
Oh, yeah.
whatnot. But in this movie, he just really kind of made some wank material for himself and made just paid a total homage to the end sequence in what was it? On Her Majesty's Secret Service with George Lazenby.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't know if
that was the only James Bond that he did, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one movie where James Bond appeared as, or George Lazenby is James Bond.
Right.
But have you ever seen that one?
I haven't seen that one, but I know that was the only one that actor did.
Yeah.
The only James Bond movie that he.
Well, I mean, I guess spoilers. It's not really, but either way, I'm keeping it super vague.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the movie, there's like a big helicopter shootout assault on a snow fort from Blofeld.
Right.
And James Bond leads the charge and whatnot. And if you look at this movie and On Her Majesty's Secret Service side by side, it's the exact same sequence.
Right.
I swear to God. Like, you can tell he looked at the fortress and he's told his production designers, he said, make it like that. And then, of course, here's where shit gets crazy for the visuals. And again, all this is in camera.
That is, yeah.
Right here.
This was one of my favorite scenes.
Yes, this shot right here. It's just a camera locked down to the floor of the set here.
Yes.
And the set is rotating on a giant hamster wheel, much like it did for 2001.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's all in camera, so and when you watch it, it's just like but when you know how it's made, it's like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense, but it's still kind of like fucks with your head, you know?
Oh yeah. It was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen in a theater.
And you know what's even crazier about this scene? Except for, I believe, like one or two shots, that's actually Joseph Gordon-Levitt doing all of his stunts.
Even more impressive.
Because apparently he got into really good shape for this movie. Because he worked out for weeks and weeks and weeks trying to get in shape to do the stunts and whatnot. Mm-hmm. He's like, I think he actually went out to thank Nolan and be like, thank you for putting me in the best shape I've ever been in my life. And if you look at some of the behind the scenes stunts and how some of this stuff was done, you can kind of see why you would really need to be fit in order to perform some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just
There's
that,
no
but
way, yeah.
Well, it's not just like the fight sequences that you saw there, but it's also for the zero-G stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because you know how they did that, right?
I remember seeing like.
Well, you know how they did it?
Yeah.
You don't know how they did it.
Yeah, go over. I was trying to remember how it happened.
Okay, so like when they're floating through the hallway and whatnot,
they
just literally built the hallway, but they built the set vertically, so like the floor is the wall and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
And they just lowered the actor down into the hallway like in the inside of a tube, and then they placed the camera accordingly in accordance to how the set is, and then when they erase the wires, it looks like he's floating. You know, so they're just literally dangling him. But he was wearing a harness, and it was like one of the most uncomfortable things that he's ever worn in his life. So,
because when they put harnesses on you, like for something like that,
and you're doing that for an extended
hours and hours of a time.
You're in that harness for extended periods, like hours at a time. Because film acting is weird. It's like hours and hours of prep, and you kind of have to stay there, and then you only have a few seconds to actually do it. But then you have to do it again and again.
And it would
again,
only
and
show
again,
up
and again.
for like a few seconds on screen, which is,
So he's in that poor harness for a very long time. And it was, he's, because I remember he said he was doing a lot of research for, like, astronauts and their movements and whatnot for what it's like in zero-G. They always say it's like the most...
It feels like that. It feels like the way that an astronaut would kind
of... Yeah. Because they described it as like being... at the most at ease they've ever been with their bodies.
Right.
Just because, you're not floating anywhere. And he was in the most uncomfortable position a body could be in. So he really had to kind of
be
counteract.
in the most uncomfortable position to make it look like,
So it's a lot. So it's really good acting on his part whenever he does that shit. So now that we're doing one final thing, syncing everyone up for the final kick. And I swear to God, this is like the longest bridge fall in cinema history, I think. Because let's see, where are we?
Then we got
where we are. We are an hour and 43 minutes in, and that thing goes for like I think a solid 20 minutes.
And then there was the non. Can't speak French.
It's Non Je ne regrette rien.
Yeah.
By the Edith Piaf music.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, did you know they didn't like at the last minute because they were like, "Oh, Marion Cotillard is on this movie. She played Edith Piaf."
Yeah, yeah.
Do we want to use that song? And Warner Brothers was actually considered saying, "Nolan, use another song," But at the last minute, they're like, nope. Oh, hi.
Was there another?
We have a studio cat in here.
The cat has made an appearance. Was there any other song that they were considering, or was this the only? Like, say they couldn't use this song for whatever reason. Was there another one that they were considering?
If there was, I don't think they've ever mentioned it because they said, look, this is in the script. We know it's working. It's by design. If it's a little coincidence and it bothers people, then they're not in the movie. They're not into the movie, and that's not what. Yeah. So they shouldn't have to worry about that. So they just said, "Fuck it, we're gonna go with it." But yeah, this whole sequence right here, this is straight out of a James Bond movie.
Oh, 100%.
For real, like this whole sequence is like Nolan just screaming to everyone, like, "Give me a Bond movie! Give me a Bond movie! I will do so many cool things with a Bond movie," and I still think he can.
Oh, I think he could too. I think Sam Mendes has done a fantastic job on the Bond movies he did, which I don't think he's doing the new one.
I don't know whether or not, I don't know who the hell's doing the new one.
I don't know either, but it's not Sam Mendes. But I would love to have seen if Chris Nolan to do a James Bond film. I think that would have been fantastic.
Even if he doesn't, that I'm okay with that, because you know who else had their eyes on a Bond movie for years? Spielberg.
That's right. Yeah,
Spielberg wanted to do a Bond movie forever,
especially after the Indiana Jones films.
Yep.
You know.
All right, here comes another little bit of a mind paradox. I feel like we need a slide whistle for that shot.
I would have laughed my ass off if they'd used that if it's on in a theater.
No, you know there's like some YouTuber out there who put that in there.
For sure, yes. Yeah.
So, and then here it goes. So we are at 1 hour and 45 minutes and 30 seconds. And this fall is going to last like the next 20 minutes, I swear. And then there's this. That is an actual avalanche. That is not visual effects.
Oh yeah, it looks. Yeah.
Well, no, that's unheard of, dude. Every time like studios will have like an avalanche in their movie, they will always do it CG because it's just safer.
It's safer and yeah.
It's safer and it's just a little bit cheaper, I think, but because it's really hard to find, forest parks to get permission to do.
And really, you only have one.
Yeah, you only have one
shot.
Well, obviously, it's one of those things you cover with multiple cameras and whatnot.
Obviously, yeah. But it's like, yeah. I mean, what are the other odds and chances you're going to get that avalanche again?
Well, I mean, you know what they did? They literally just did controlled demolitions to make avalanches.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I know park rangers do that all the time for certain things. Like they will do controlled demolitions to produce controlled avalanches and whatnot. Like they'll clear shit out and everything. Mm-hmm. But for this, they actually got to do it for a movie, and to a certain extent, I believe they actually to blow like snow into the actors' faces. They just had a helicopter come in really low, and blow snow around, which is. So when you see snow, that's actual snow. So these poor guys. And now we're in zero G. So like I said, these guys are. This is all in camera. The only CG that's in these shots is to remove the wires.
Oh yeah.
Like in this bit too. All that, dude. Even the phone and the couch and everything.
It's one of the things I appreciate so much.
Yeah.
About this.
Although there was one little detail that they were
I'll always appreciate anybody who puts more practical effects in their films.
Well, practical effects just look better.
They look
because
they're
real,
so much better, and yeah.
Because they're real, they feel real.
Yes.
It never feels fake. If you don't fake it, then you just know. I mean, audiences have like an intuitive sixth sense about those things.
Oh yeah.
What was the other thing? Oh yeah, the other thing that they tried to not do in zero G. There's one detail that they're like, we are so not doing, because even if we went the visual effects approach, they would murder Nolan in his sleep. It's Ellen Page's hair. They actually had it specifically in a tight bun for that sequence, just so when things go in zero G, they don't have to worry about how hair works, because animating like zero G hair or underwater hair in visual effects is a nightmare even just in like animation, like 3D animated
It
movies.
makes sense for sure.
It's a nightmare to do.
Oh yeah.
So they had her just do it in a bunch so they don't have to deal with that sort of thing. And just when you thought you would get a rotating hallway, now we got a 0G fight here. And as you can see, I guarantee you, if you look really closely, you can see that their movements don't. Their movements are just kind of in the same relative space.
Yeah.
They're just moving the wire that's suspending the actors up and down, and they're just kind of like have a grip, move them around throughout the hallway to get that sort of thing, and then they just remove the wires. It's kind of amazing.
It's genius.
Yeah, and it's all in camera, man. You just because that's what I really love, the way that Nolan uses CG. He uses CG to erase shit rather than add. Because because in photography it's a lot easier to say take away certain things, or if in the case of like under or overexposures, if you underexpose, you're going to have a hard time getting a nice clean image if you try to brighten it in post. But if you underexpose, it's much easier to brighten it later on. Or if you overexpose, it's much easier to darken later on, and to get a nice clean image. So it's like, that's all technical stuff, and so hopefully we haven't lost too many listeners out there from that. And this is another really interesting question that Ariadne pulls up. When you shoot people, do you actually destroy parts of your mind? And thank God it's not the case, because it's exactly what he calls them. They're just projections. But and then there's this shot that's coming up. Where is it? Where he gathers them all up and wraps them all in wire.
Yes.
Now, that was actually a rig where they actually had all the actors in a brace, and then they rotated the brace while hanging Joseph Gordon-Levitt through a vertical set. My mind hurts when I think about the logistics of that. And not only that, but that's the shot. They're literally just like on a giant.
Just thinking about the logistics of that just makes my
brain just
a
little bit of steam coming out of the ears. But yeah, now we're about to get inside the facility through a little back door that they got. I actually forgot there was another really great line that we totally missed when they drop into the dream. They're like, someone couldn't dream up a goddamn beach party or something.
It's like, when's somebody going to be dreaming something that's actually cool dream?
That brings up a whole nother point, because like they kind of touch on that sort of thing. Like, who would want to be stuck in a dream for 50 years? Like, depends on the dream. It's crazy how this movie is like a dive into the mind and dreams, and there's absolutely no sex. Like, you would think
this isn't realistic, Nolan.
No, it's not. It's not real. It's not a real dream until you throw in some titties. And speaking of titties, here's the again Mal, our foil, just about to fuck shit up for Dom Cobb's day. Shoot her, you son of a bitch. She's just a projection. You know you are in the third level of dreaming. Shoot her. Yeah, it's your wife. Just do it. And too late. Oh yeah, too late, too soon. Too late, too soon. That's what it.
Too soon.
So, that's a really cool stunt. But yeah, man, the music just the driving force of this whole movie, I swear, is like the score and how the constant intercutting. But yeah, dude, that's just them being lowered down into a little set. Love it. I actually even love the production design of the soldier suits that they're wearing.
There's something about Hans Zimmer's music in this movie for me that really adds to
the momentum of it.
Really adds to the momentum of it, because I really do feel like if another composer would have composed the music for this, I don't know if it would have worked. if the momentum for like certain scenes would have worked as well.
Yeah, he kind of is like the person to do a score like this, because if you try to do someone like Alan Silvestri or
Danny Elfman or
yeah,
something like
it would
that.
feel a little too.
If Danny Elfman would be like bum 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 bum
Yeah.
bum bum, you know,
It would feel a little too
feels like a
too summer blockbuster.
yes, too much like a movie.
Yeah. Whereas Hans Zimmer is obviously one of the more experimental kind of composers.
Which is that's interesting because he's also one of the most prolific and one of the most successful composers.
Yes.
But he's also, like you said, he's also one of the ones that is the most experimental and the one that's always wanting to try new things.
Have you seen that special feature of The Dark Knight Rises, where you actually get to go inside how he works?
Oh yes, yeah. I've seen I've seen the masterclass thing on YouTube.
Yeah,
where it shows how he works too.
He's like one of those composers who doesn't actually write music.
No,
he just plays it by himself. He plays every note by himself on his insane amount of computers and machines and instruments at his disposal. And then once he's performed a rough cut of it, he goes in with the orchestra and makes the full recordings and then mixes it all together with the stuff that he's done on his own, and it becomes his own thing. So in a way, he's like
he's one of those where you can really tell a Hans Zimmer score.
Yeah, especially now with the
yes, absolutely, yeah.
Although to be fair,
even back, yeah,
it's I have such mixed feelings about the score because
really?
because it really helps. Now we're into the fourth level. It really is great for this movie, but unfortunately, he and a lot of other composers took the wrong lessons from it. From that
this movie in particular?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's especially after this movie, there was a kind of a trend of a lot of the musical scores for movies, especially big blockbuster and comic book movies.
Sure.
But even independent cinema, a lot of movies tended to kind of sound the same, and they would often use this certain soundtracks.
I just think Time and specifically is
I know.
very much
distinct. As an original piece, yeah, this is a pretty great score. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately,
Did he win the Oscar for composing this?
No, but I know Wally Feister actually won for best cinematography in this movie.
Obviously.
Yes, because when you have crazy shots like this coming up with the elevator shaft,
yes,
that's nuts. That's awesome shit right there. A+ for Walter Feister.
Wally, yeah.
But what was it?
Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, but with Hans Zimmer's music, especially for this score specifically, I felt like even though it's a really good score on its own and it works for the movie very well, a lot of the film composers and directors and whatnot, they took the wrong lessons from it. Because as a matter of fact, there's a lot of because have you ever heard of the temp score problem?
Yeah, it's just the temp scores problem is just the music. Many composers the director would just tell
use this.
Just use this music over that. Yeah,
and they wind up falling in love with it.
John Bryan, you know who John Bryan is?
Yes,
the music composer. He actually talks about that in an interview where he just says every time a director tells him to use temp music, his heart just breaks.
Yeah. Because then
he hates it.
Because then they tend to cut to the temp music.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they're make your score like this temp music, and it makes.
It feels like a lot of that was used after this movie.
Yeah. That's exactly what's happening. Because I know for a fact that studios are what's the next original piece that we can do? Let's steal off of Inception, and they started stealing just the sound motifs and all that sort of thing, and applying it to their own thing, which didn't fit, and people started using their remixes, and it just it all sounded like the same thing. You listen to film scores in this decade, a lot of them sound either bland or just the same, and it's not healthy for a diverse cinematic landscape, which is still kind of ironic, because I always say that, a lot of people out there are always tell me that, movies, all these movies are all the same. Hollywood doesn't have any new ideas or anything like that. It's all just the same thing revamped. It's all reboots and remakes and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, it's not. It's totally not. There's more original movies out there than have ever been done in the history of
Definitely
motion pictures.
recently, yeah.
Well, in the history of motion pictures, like from like 2016 to today, there are more movies
it's
being
more-
made
Yes.
every year than there has ever been in the history of cinema. The only difference is you've never heard of them because they don't get
They're not. Yeah.
they don't
'cause
get a
they're-
chance to get
'cause
marketed.
They don't get the marketing strategies that
They
make
don't
a
have the
major
money.
film like this. They don't have the money to be marketed.
Because that's what
That's
happens.
why, yeah.
That's what happens with big movies like that Disney puts out.
Mm-hmm.
They'll buy up like 3-4 different screens for one movie in one
Yeah.
theater,
Mm-hmm.
and that just limits the amount of diversity that goes around. And only really small cinemas, or even just like direct to video or Netflix or things like that. Those are the only places you can actually kind of see it. And even then, you still have to
Unless you're a
hunt
studio
for
like
'em.
unless you're a studio like A24 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you still have to hunt for them.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's
Yeah.
because they don't have the $200 million marketing budget,
No.
which is really sad because I know there's a lot of
Although
wonderful...
although this movie had a very
It did.
very high budget to
It
it.
did.
Right?
Well, that it's
This
mostly...
was like a $200 million movie.
No, I don't think it was 200 million.
At least 100.
But I do know it was definitely heavily marketed because
Yeah.
just because literally this is right after Christopher Nolan made the hottest movie of the decade, The Dark Knight.
Oh yeah.
So like any movie with his name attached is already going to make a huge amount of money. So it's between his name and the extra amount of money that Warner
He's one
Brothers
of the
was
few
with.
directors. He's one of the few directors where the director's name sells the movie.
Well, it's that.
Very, very.
But it's
few.
also because of his name that
Yeah.
Warner Brothers was able to shell out the extra cash to market the movie for him.
Oh yeah.
But that's also what happens when you do make a name for yourself. That's the whole reason why any of us want to make a name for ourselves. So people will be like, market him.
Director is the star.
We like him.
Yeah.
Let's sell his shit. So. But that's just the cinematic landscape that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, back to the movie. We get off topic a lot, don't we?
A little bit.
A little bit. But that's okay because this movie's so freaking entertaining. It doesn't really need.
That's one of
Need
the things.
us.
Like I love the fact that it's such a high concept, but it is still entertaining as hell.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
And those two things usually don't go together.
Typically, no. It's. I guess I think the only person who's ever really been able to pull that off was like someone like Kubrick.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
'Cause-
Which is why a lot of people consider Nolan to be the Kubrick of our day.
In
a way.
There will never be another Kubrick.
Oh, absolutely not.
There, because I know that's been tossed around a lot. Like I know.
That's not me who's saying it. That's just people who.
God, what's his name? Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve. yeah.
Villeneuve. Like he's been labeled that before. I can think of. I'm trying to think of a couple others. Nolan's been labeled that, and I'm like,
Looking
I just
forward to
don't
his
buy
Dune.
it. I just don't buy it. You know what? The thing is, plus the big problem that I have with that is people shouldn't be the next master from the past. They
Be
should
your own, yeah.
be
your
the
own
master of
distinct
now.
Style, yeah. Well, that's just like the way when I say that. That's just me saying what other people like to say.
Mm-hmm.
I consider Nolan to be his own
Yes.
force, in the same way that Kubrick was his own force.
Yes, exactly. And you know
in
what?
the same way that Denis Villeneuve is.
Yes. And you know what?
I still don't know if I ever pronounce his name right, but
Neither do I. And I feel so bad every time I try. But no, they're definitely the masters of today.
yes,
And I look forward to any other new movies that they're going to be putting out.
absolutely.
I do know that apparently Nolan's working on like a film noir.
I heard
kinda
that
movie
too.
going
and
on with Marion
Villeneuve is
with-
working on Dune.
Yes.
Which
Okay.
that's going to be interesting.
That's going to be nuts, dude. I really hopes that he just chucks the Frank Herbert novels and the David Lynch
I hope
stuff.
he just does his own thing. He's not going to make the David Lynch movie.
Well, I hope not. What I'm hoping is he takes a lot of notes from Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because his version of Dune, oh my god.
Otherwise known as the movie that was the greatest movie never made.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in many respects it's kind of up there with Kubrick's Napoleon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good shit. All right. So anyway, we finally got Cobb confronting his wife and actually trying to let go. And this is a really nice little sequence here. Where, although I do like the house safe. It's actually really kind of a smart idea, especially with the match cut. You know, cutting from the house that she grew up in to the little dollhouse in the safe. And apparently, while they were in limbo, as you can see, they just built a whole bunch of shit, like both from scratch and from memory and whatnot. But apparently, if I'm correct, Leonardo DiCaprio's character is actually named after like a famous skyscraper architect, named Cobb. So it's fitting that his world consists of mostly skyscrapers, as you can see right here. That's some Escher stuff right there. You know,
very
especially
framed and
also the way that they're like the
rhythmic, yeah.
The way how they all fall. But this is super fucked up. Like, is it weird? But now I'm also like thinking of Groundhog Day. Like, what are the most interesting ways I can kill myself?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I
didn't hear anyone comparing Groundhog Day to.
That's a cool cut.
Yeah, it's a very cool cut.
But it feels like I'm a little sad now that Bill Murray didn't try to kill himself with a train.
Because the metaphor would have been very much, if that would have happened in Groundhog Day, the metaphor for that would have been very much felt stronger. Yeah,
definitely. Although I do love how it kind of cycles into the whole theme of the movie.
I always love how Groundhog Day can be compared to like other.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of my favorite. Actually, one of my favorite things to watch in the world, and one of my favorite genres or weird subgenres.
Yeah.
Is science fiction romances.
Oh yeah.
And you can actually kind of categorize that.
You could with this one.
Mm-hmm. Like other movies that you look to is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Her, The Adjustment Bureau. I love Her.
Spike Jonze.
Yes. So. Science fiction romances are often some of my favorite movies to watch, just because they deal with human emotion and how we perceive it.
Oh yeah,
and that sort of thing. But it also delves into the mind and whatnot, and those are all my favorite things to kind of do. Boy, Saito is really having a rough day, isn't he? And dead. Bye bye. He gone. You're gonna be in a dream for a really, 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 really long time. And poor Tom Hardy here, who just can't get a break. He's like,
and then
music starts.
But
poor Tom Hardy here can't get a break. He's like, fuck. We lost Cillian Murphy and Saito. Like, can I get a win here, please? But now at the last second they're gonna bring him back, and of course shit's going downstairs. And here Cobb has to make a horrible choice. Would you stay if you were in his position?
I mean, it's still. I mean, I don't. Are you still the firm belief that he's still in the dream by the end of the movie?
I'll let you know when it comes up.
Yeah,
because that's a long discussion.
It's one of my favorite things to discuss with this movie.
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah,
it's the question on everyone's mind,
Yeah.
But I don't know. Would you stay with Mal or not? If you given the choice, like if this was one of those interactive video games, would you do it or not?
I probably would want to stay.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. if I really had to choose,
You would leave.
I as painful as it would be,
It's a painful thing.
I would, just because I'm with I like to cite Spock in this argument. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's
Good point.
that's just me. So, plus, you know, I've always thought, like, you know, after certain. Oh, Jesus.
Oh.
Jesus. Improvising. Yeah, that's the other thing about this movie that I really love. How a lot of the show that they have to actually improvise based on stuff that they run into. It's very much the process of making a movie, you know? Because I don't know if you've done 48-hour films, right?
It's been a while, but yeah.
But have you ever ran into problems where you're just like, shit, we need to improvise shit, like where you take advantage of happy accidents?
It always comes out. It always like something at the last minute when you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. And you're just like, fuck, we'll just roll with it.
Yes.
Just go with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it blows up in your face. Although thankfully for these, it's kind of amazing that the mission here didn't totally fail. You know?
I love this shot.
That's the design of it is really cool.
The design of this looks really, really cool. Another thing that feels like anime.
Yes,
Yeah.
The whole
movie.
It's
yeah.
the production design and the cinematography and the camera movement.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the movements feel very anime. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And of course, I really love the little twist here with his father.
Yeah.
And he's like, disappointment was always the key word with his dad, and I really love the fact that they kind of twist it. It's really ingenious. Disappointed that you tried to be me, to be like me.
Yeah. Which
you're like, hell yes. And even just as the character, you're just like, oh man, that is gorgeous. That's literally they were literally going straight for the Academy Award winning ending. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like you can tell that they're just trying to write a symphony here.
Even this in particular, yeah.
On the fly. And then of course he points to the safe in there, and of course what's the combo? 582491. Because those are recurring recurring numbers, like the phone number. Yep, yeah. There it is. 528-491. The hotel numbers, the phone number that not Eames lady gave, all that sort of thing. And of course, there's the pinwheel from the photograph. Oh, great performance. And then just in time for him to get the reaction, they wait for the emotional pay dirt and blow the place. Now, here's something really crazy. That explosion is all real in camera.
Yeah.
Because it was actually a combination of things. They when they built, they actually went out to a location in the mountains.
Oh yeah.
Built a full fort set for them to do, and they actually blew up the entire scale set on location, like right here.
Real.
But however, the one when you see the tower fall, that's actually a miniature, but it's a miniature like 3 stories high.
Right.
And they actually blew that up in the studio parking lot of all. Like that shot right there was miniature, and then when you cut to the wide, they actually do that's also in the miniature. But there's a couple of shots that they used where they actually blow up the full set, which is nuts. And you know what's really interesting? Second time in a row that Chris Nolan has blown up a hospital in a movie for real.
Yeah.
You notice shit like that, man.
Shit now.
And that was also really ballsy for Chris Nolan to do too, you know?
The one in The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, seriously, like you actually blew up in a real building without the use of CG. That's unheard of, dude. And then finally, so actually I'm curious how long. So the fall started at like an hour and 43 minutes. We are at 2 hours and 13 minutes. So yeah, roughly about 20 minutes that damn van was falling. Damn. Longest drawn out stunt ever. And then of course there's this bit right here where find out that they actually did grow old together, and that shot I really love.
That's good. Yeah.
Where because like when they put their heads on the train to quote wake up, they were actually old when they did it. It was really cool. So that I'm trying to think if there's any other performances from Marion Cotillard that come to mind, because I haven't actually seen her in a whole lot of other movies, especially the ones that Nolan hasn't done. Have you?
A few. There was a World War II movie with Brad Pitt.
Oh, Fury?
No, not Fury. Allied.
Oh, wasn't that the one that Angelina Jolie directed?
No, Allied was a movie where Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard were a married couple.
Oh, okay.
And Brad Pitt, the people that Brad Pitt was working for, they were kind of thinking that her character was a spy. So he was kind of faced with this dilemma of like, hey, your wife might be a spy for Germany. If she's not, no big deal. But if she is, kill her.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Then there's this wonderful shot that's coming up. That's
She was also in. Oh,
what's up?
she was also in Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah. So anyway,
Back to this.
Yeah. What was it? There's this one shot that's coming up. That's probably one of my favorites in the movie. Yeah, this shot right here, where it wipes from Tom Berenger, and then as soon as it comes back around,
Yeah, that's right.
there it is, Tom Hardy. Come on.
Let's
Yeah.
get there.
There it
That
is.
is an amazing shot.
I really want to know how they did that, because it's done in one take, and oh man, I really can't think of, because I mean obviously it's like face replacement or whatnot, or
Yeah.
the only other way that I could think of doing it is like doing it with a motion control camera, doing the same shot twice with Tom Berenger and one with Tom Hardy, and then just digitally stitching those two shots into one. It's the only way I can think. And we're back to the beginning. Finding Saito and trying to have to bring him back. Because as you can see, he's been here for a very long time.
Great old makeup.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Because old makeup.
Because bad old makeup is noticeable.
Yeah, there's a lot of
There's a lot of bad old people makeup.
There's a lot of great movies that really suffer from it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, but this is actually pretty good.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I will definitely take that.
Yeah.
And you know what's also really great? Even if it's not perfect, it's still dreamlike.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it still fits. But now he has to perform a little bit of Inception with Saito and have to bring him back to the world, which is a real nice little dual symmetry there, because Saito's the one who has to bring him back to America, and he has to bring him back to reality in order to do that. Good shit. And of course the top is still spinning, because come on back. Wake up, Saito. Wake up. I actually kind of expect him to just die. Can you die in limbo? That's a good question.
Interesting question.
Well, he did reach for the gun. Is that how they woke up?
Maybe.
Maybe. That's probably how it is.
Yeah.
And of course, just arriving out just about in time. And then there's the look that they give each other, which I really like here. Not this shot right here, but there is a look that Cillian Murphy does give Leonardo DiCaprio as they're exiting that I really like, where they're just kind of acknowledging like a little bit of deja vu, but probably nothing, you know? Of course, everyone's just like, hell yeah, we did it. See, I forget what his name is. The chemist. See, now's the time he should have drank that champagne. But yeah, right here, the look. They give each other just like, phone call. I gotta make a phone call. What's the number again? Maybe he's got it on speed dial. And then finally, he gets into the immigration, and it's a moment of truth. Either right here he gets his ass pummeled by security, or he goes home to his kids. And I kind of imagine that, Nolan's frequent traveling is a lot of it attributed to this, because if I remember reading up on IMDb, he always has his passport on him just in case.
Oh, yeah.
Like, constantly running around with it. And, of course, he's cleared to go. And then there's this moment coming up right here where Leo passes up Cillian Murphy. But I really love how they cleverly decide to have all the quote-unquote cast of Inception just diverge into the many faces of the airport. That face right there, where he's just like, familiar, yet not. And just kind of keeps on going. A little bit of dream deja vu almost. Well, not quite deja vu. I'm trying to think of the correct word here. And then Sir Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Well, that's another thing that may or may not confirm whether or not Cobb is dreaming or not. Is that in an interview with Michael Caine, they're like, he said when he first read the script, he's like, I don't know what's real. What's real, Chris? Tell me. And he says, whenever you're in the scene, it's reality. And he wasn't sure if he took that as, play it as reality, like anyone, any normal actor would, or is it anytime that Michael Caine shows up within the world, that is reality? Maybe that confirms that he isn't dreaming right now. It might, or it just might be lost in translation. Personally, maybe, I don't give a crap. And here's the famous shot where the top is spinning, and you can read this in the script. Like, there's the actual shooting script. It actually just says that the camera pans away to the top, and it keeps spinning and spinning, and cuts. Like, it never actually says whether or not it falls over. Like, it says it's about to spin. It's about to topple over, but the script never actually confirms it. So
okay,
that still brings up the ultimate question: is
he still dreaming?
Well, because honestly, I say fuck.
Now with that explanation.
Yeah, well, I mean, with all the theories out there and whatnot, what's your personal thing?
Well, you actually kind of, the way you explain it and the way that when Michael Caine shows up, it is reality.
Mm-hmm.
The way you kind of explain that, it does have me kind of thinking the other way a little bit more. But who knows? That's one of the great things about this is that invites this kind of discussion.
Well, yeah, totally. I mean, that's the brilliance of this movie.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm trying to find words here. The thing is, even with the Michael Caine thing, if you really take that to heart and say that you play it like whatever reality, whatever scene you're in is your reality, that's just saying act it straight. So you couldn't say that that's whatever that whole thing of that Michael Caine is, any scene that Michael Caine is what grounds Cobb to reality. Is total bullshit. You could totally take that for bullshit.
Okay.
But me personally, I like to think that the entire movie is a dream, and it's not. At the same time, now here's how I'll give you the full explanation. Okay, so the film is a dream.
Yes.
Because we as an audience are dreaming this movie.
Mm-hmm.
We go into the movie theater, we sit our ass down. Edith Piaf starts off really slow, and finishes exactly at the right moment, and therefore we are dreaming. We as the audience are the dreamers experiencing the dream. So yeah, the whole movie is a dream, But within the world of the film or the dream, whenever Cobb is, not under or isn't experimenting, yeah, he's not dreaming. That last shot within the movie, within the film's world, I don't think he's dreaming, because even though the top is kind of starting to lose momentum and whatnot, doesn't matter because he's with his kids, because that's what's really important to him.
Yeah.
To us, the audience, it's just reminding us that we're experiencing something. For him, that's his reality, and therefore he's not dreaming. If that makes sense. Because
It's got me thinking now, man. I mean, I don't. Yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, it just invites this kind of discussion.
Yeah.
Very much like 2001 did.
Mm-hmm.
Back in '68 when that came out. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, this is one of those movies I learned something new
Every time you watch it.
Every time I watch it.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I love about it.
Well, that's a mark of a really great movie. Anyway.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, the more you watch it, the more shit
Just some
you pick
things
up
you
on.
just like scratch the surface and there it is.
Yep. Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Michael Bay. Fucking hate that guy.
All right.
No.
Try not to.
No.
We try not to get into any Michael Bay hate.
I hate that guy. I hate the guy that.
All right. As much as we try not to bring up Michael Bay at every point in turn.
No, I will roast his ass until long
All
after
right.
he is dead.
Fair enough.
Long after he's dead.
Fair enough.
I don't care that he made The Rock. I don't care
You
if
didn't care that he made Bad Boys?
no. He still made Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of the same reason why I will never forgive Shyamalan for The Last Airbender. I don't care.
I would almost argue that Uwe Boll is worse.
Yeah, because he doesn't apologize.
Yeah.
Hell, he actually fights his critics.
Yeah.
You read about that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, for those
I'd argue that he's worse than Michael Bay.
For those of you like just
At
listening,
least Michael Bay's like,
for those of you that don't know out there, Uwe Boll actually challenges critics that don't like his movies to fist fights.
Oh yeah.
And it's
he's
happened
very much, yeah.
It's actually happened a couple of times that a reviewer took him up on that, and he actually beat the living shit out of him.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is super fucked up and so not professional and not cool. Like,
at least Michael Bay is like.
He's like, yeah, I make shit, but I make money, so fuck you.
Yeah.
Michael
Bay doesn't incite violence.
No.
Yeah.
He just incites explosions so he can jerk off endlessly to explosions.
Yeah.
Explosions are his fetish.
Yes, it is.
All right, so that was a hell of a movie, man.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me, man.
It's been fun kind of revisiting this one in particular because again, this is still one of my favorite movies because it's probably one of the most subtly meta movies ever made.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And hopefully, if it doesn't get to me, like if I don't figure out the code to make, the movie that it talks about movies, about making movies and movie experiences, and could only be done within movies. I really hope it really cracks the code for that sort of thing, or just be like a story, kind of like an ode to film editing, so to speak. Because this is not the greatest film editing I've ever seen in my life. It's not. As cool as like jumping back and forth and trying to figure out where you are. I've seen better editing. Because you know what's really crazy? This movie has just one match cut in this entire movie. And that's when you see like go from old Saito to young Saito.
Sure.
That's the only match cut in the entire movie. Now, if you take there's another movie, Paprika, that movie is like nothing but match cuts, just constantly doing that. So I feel like if you go the extra step in your editing, this movie could probably be the closest thing to those ideas that I've been talking about. So if anything, hopefully this movie, along with the right lessons to be taken from Interstellar, someone can crack it.
Oh yeah.
Because even if it's not me, I don't even think it's gonna be me. Because I've never had a whole lot of money anyways, and I've never had access to the kind of opportunities these filmmakers have had. But you know, I would still love to see that movie anyway.
Oh yeah,
The
for
movie
sure.
that comes closest to, you know, Citizen Kane and 2001 to really being a movie that just pushes the boundaries even further and changes the form ultimately than to what we know now today.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking cool. So go out there, get some inspiration, and make it happen, people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it for the show for today.
Thank you so much for inviting me,
Yeah,
Tim.
absolutely. And why don't you do some shameless self-promoting while you're here?
Shameless self-promoting. You can find me on my main podcast is Nikki B's Movie Corner, and I also started a new podcast called Creators in Cincy, where I bring on various people in the Cincinnati production space, be it filmmakers, editors, podcasters. Like Tim was very kind enough to join me.
And
on
I was
that,
very happy to be on there.
Tim was very kind enough to join me on the first episode. The first episode is up on Anchor. It's available on Spotify and Google Podcasts and a bunch of different platforms. Anchor pretty much sends that out and distributes it. It's a few different places. So you can definitely go check that out. But Nikki B's Movie Corner is also kind of my main thing that I do on the side. And look forward to more content very soon.
Absolutely, man. And thank you very much. This has been
Thank you so much.
This has been a really great episode of Comtrack, and you can join us back where you'll never have to watch a movie alone again.
Peace out.
Peace.